We are calling the meeting to order at 5:02. The NVUSD Board of Education is holding a regular virtual board meeting tonight that all can participate in remotely. You may join via Zoom. Specific instructions on how to participate are located on the Board of Education webpage on the district's website, nvusd.org/board. The open session part of the meeting agenda begins at 7 p.m. Public comment on closed session items. Before going into closed session, the board is available for public comment on a closed session agenda item. Mr. Michaels, is there any public comment on closed session items?
There is no public comment on closed session items.
Seeing that there are none, the Napa Valley Unified School District will now adjourn into closed session. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Robin Jankowitz, and this is the Napa Valley Unified School District Board of Education. The NVUSD Board of Education is holding a regular board meeting tonight that all can participate remotely. You can join via Zoom. Interpretation in Spanish is available for tonight's virtual board meeting. To access interpretation from a computer, click on the interpretation icon on the bottom of your screen from within the Zoom application. On a mobile device, click on the More button on the bottom of your screen and choose Language Interpretation from within the Zoom application. This is a separate channel that will allow you to hear English to Spanish translation concurrently. Please note, interpretation services are not available when you join our meeting by calling in. Our interpreters for tonight's meeting are Marcy Valdivizio and Claudia Lindgren. May we have one of the interpreters please translate these directions on our English channel so our Spanish-speaking families can hear the instructions.
Buenas noches. Esta es una reunión regular de la Junta Directiva de Educación del Distrito Escolar del Valle de Napa. Para acceder a interpretación en español en su computadora, en la parte baja de la pantalla, van a observar una figura del globo terráqueo. Le van a hacer un clic allí y después usted va a escoger el idioma español o Spanish. Este servicio no está disponible para aquellas personas que llaman por teléfono y una vez que usted ingrese al canal de español va a tener acceso a escuchar el resto de la reunión en el idioma español. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Specific instructions on how to participate in the meeting are located on the Board of Education webpage on the district's website, nvusd.org/board. May we please start with an attendance roll call from Vera Morales, Executive Assistant.
Yes, Student Board Member Bid.
Present.
Trustee Jankowitz.
Present.
Trustee Gracia.
Present.
Trustee Reiser.
Present.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares.
Present.
Trustee Shu.
Present.
Trustee Dooley.
Here.
Quorum present. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. Thank you for joining us tonight for our Napa Valley Unified School District Board meeting. Public participation remains virtual online only. This meeting tonight is in accordance with the open meeting rules in the State of Assembly per Assembly Bill 361. I am going to start tonight with some basic instructions on how we are going to be using Zoom and involve the members of the community. All Board of Education trustees and the superintendent are on video throughout the entire meeting from here in the boardroom. Other staff members are present by video. Members of the community will not be on video and will be muted except during public comment. During public comment, any member of the community that wishes to speak must raise their hand using the raise hand feature in Zoom. You will be unmuted and will be provided 3 minutes to speak. Instructions on how to raise your hand are available on the district website, again at nvusd.org/board. We are going to call the meeting to order at 7:13. Report on closed session. Trustee Water, do you have a report from closed session?
Yes, I do. Student discipline, expulsions, D1A1, the board recommends for the expulsion of student 2102022A.
Move to expel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Student board member Bit.
Oh, she wasn't.
Oh, that's right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and the board recommends for the expulsion of student 2102022B.
Move to expel.
Second.
First by trustee Gracia, second by trustee Dooley. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, roll call. I truly apologize.
That's
Vera,
fine.
We're going to go back. I'm sorry. We're going to go back to student A. We're going to take a roll call vote. The motion first was by trustee Gracia, second by was trustee Dooley. Now we're going to have a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Jankowicz,
Yes.
trustee Gracia,
Aye.
trustee Water,
Aye.
trustee Ricer,
Aye.
trustee Gonzalez Mares,
Aye.
trustee Shu,
Aye.
trustee Dooley.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'll move to expel the second student.
We have a first by trustee Gracia,
Second.
a second by trustee Dooley. Roll call vote, please, Vera.
Trustee Jankowicz, trustee Jankowicz,
Aye.
trustee Gracia,
Aye.
trustee Water,
Aye.
trustee Ricer,
Aye.
trustee Gonzalez Mares,
Aye.
trustee Shu,
Aye.
trustee Dooley.
Aye.
Thank you.
And the board recommends for the expulsion of student 2102022C.
Move to expel.
Second.
First by trustee Gracia, second by trustee Dooley. Vera, may we please have a roll call vote?
Trustee Jankowicz,
Aye.
trustee Gracia,
Aye.
trustee Water,
Aye.
trustee Ricer,
Aye.
trustee Gonzalez Mares,
Aye.
trustee Shu,
Aye.
trustee Dooley.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vera.
And D2 personnel. The board took action to approve the following staff recommendations. D2A1, Chris Yepson to the position of Technology Operations Manager. D2A2, Anna Andrea to the position of Interim Assistant Principal at Napa High School. D2A3, Ashley Green to the position of Education Technology Manager, and congratulations.
Thank you, trustee Water, for the report. I do just, it's kind of our tradition. I want to take an opportunity to, or provide an opportunity to our three new leaders in these new positions to address the board. I think they are all present. So I want to start off by welcoming Anna Andrea, interim Napa High School Assistant Principal. Anna, would you like to say anything?
Yes, thank you so much, board members and Superintendent Musetti. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to serve our community. I'm sorry, could you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I apologize. But thank you so much for the opportunity to serve our community, and I'm looking forward to finishing out this second semester with our students and helping to lead all of them at our site. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Anna. and Thank you for stepping up to the leadership position for Napa High School. Next, I'd like to welcome, I see Ashley Green is here this evening, and she'll be serving as the new manager for educational technology.
Thank you so much, Dr. Musetti, Board of Education, Mr. Mangala, and Mr. Michaels. I am excited for this opportunity and I can't wait to get started.
Great. Congratulations to you, Ashley. And lastly, I see Chris Yepson is also here, who'll be serving as our new manager of technology operations. Chris, would you like to address the board?
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity, Board of Education, Dr. Musetti, Mr. Mangual, and Mr. Michaels. I'm so excited to lead our operations team here at NVUSD Technology. Just really excited to get going and get started.
Great. Welcome to the three of you as new members to our Napa Valley Unified School District leadership team and site leaders. Thank you, site leadership team.
Congratulations to all. Student Board Member Bitt, would you like to lead us in the flag salute this evening? Okay, we are going to make a slight adjustment. If we go back to when we reconvened to open session and we were establishing our quorum, I believe trustee Water was skipped on the roll call. So Vera, would you mind please redoing the roll call for quorum?
Yes. Student Board Member Bitt,
Present.
Trustee Jankowicz,
Present.
Trustee Gracia,
Present.
Trustee Water,
Present.
Trustee Ricer,
Present.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares,
Present.
Trustee Shu,
Present.
Trustee Dooley,
Here.
quorum present. Thank you.
Vera, thank you very much. Thank you for your patience, everyone. This meeting is live streamed and recorded via Zoom and will be archived on the district YouTube channel. For a detailed review of any meeting agenda, the archived video can be referenced and located on the district webpage at nvusd.org. The public can join the virtual board meeting remotely via Zoom. Participation instructions and the process for public comment can be found on the district webpage. May I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
First by trustee Gracia, second by trustee Gonzalez Mares. All in favor?
Aye.
Student board rep?
Aye.
Agenda approved. Minutes. May I get a motion on approval of minutes for the January 20th?
So moved.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Gonzalez Mares. All in favor?
Aye.
Student board member rep?
Aye.
January 20th. Approved. January 27th.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Chu. All in favor?
Aye.
Student board member rep?
Abstain.
Thank you. And January 27th is approved. January 29th.
So moved.
May I get a first by trustee Gracia,
Second.
a second by trustee Chu. All in favor?
Aye.
Student board member Bitt?
Abstain.
Thank you. The 29th is now approved. February 3rd.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
I'll second.
second by trustee Chu. All in favor?
Aye.
Student board member Bitt?
Aye.
Thank you. And February 3rd is now approved. Dr. Massetti, recognition of visitors and employee organizations.
Yes, it's always my pleasure to recognize our visitors from our employee organizations. So I see tonight present is Gail Young, the president of NVEA. Mr. Michaels, can we have Ms. Young address the board, please?
Good evening, trustees and Dr. Musetti, and congratulations to our new leaders. I just heard all of them. Thank you so much, and I am looking forward to the fun things that are on this tonight.
Thank you for being here, Ms. Young. I also see that President of NAPS, Ms. Leslie Walder, is here joining us this evening. Welcome, Ms. Walder. Would you like to address the board?
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Musetti. Good evening, President Jankowicz. I haven't been able to say that yet, so I'm pleased to be able to acknowledge you in your new position. Members of the board, student member Bitt, Dr. Musetti, and members of the Napa Valley Unified School District community. I'm pleased to be here tonight as well, and I look forward to hearing some of the news that will be forthcoming. All right, thank you.
Thanks for your presence this evening. All right, that's all who's here tonight.
Thank you. We move on to one of our favorite parts of the evening, recognition of students of the month. And I must mention that it is generously sponsored by Napa Valley Education Foundation. Principal Lopez, are you ready to present your January and February Students of the Month?
This is Assistant Principal Goff. I will be replacing Ms. Lopez this evening.
Good evening.
I would like to thank the school board and Dr. Musetti for the privilege and the opportunity to highlight some of our outstanding students at American Canyon High School. Our January Student of the Month is Andreas Ainalum, and this is what one of his teachers, Ms. Harris, has to say about him. Andreas has been a member of the leadership class since freshman year at ACHS. During the past 4 years, Andreas has been someone I can rely on. Andreas is most known in leadership for 3 things. First, Andreas has been an MC at our school events for the past 4 years. As an MC, there are a lot more time and dedication required of him. At lunch, while others were able to relax with their friends, he takes on the role of communicating with the students and hyping up the crowds. He also does this countless times at our various schools' rallies and events. Second, Andreas has been a director of student activities for our school, serving on the ASB board for the past 2 years. Most of my ASB officers have been seniors. Aside from Andreas, I have only one other junior function at ASB since I started this position in 2014. His dedication to ensuring things went smoothly, especially last year, allowed leadership to function as well as it did via social media during the 2020-2021 school year. Lastly, Andreas has served as an ASB leader and editor for the Audiovisual Committee. In the years past, this committee created videos for Spirit Weeks, dances, and other similar events throughout the year. This school year demanded on the Audiovisual Committee increased dramatically when we introduced the Weekly Wolf YouTube episodes. In years past, videos were produced every 4 weeks or so, and the Weekly Wolf is now produced, as it's named, weekly. Andreas leads a team of individuals through daily script writing, filming, editing, and then starts it all over again the next week. Andreas has taken all of the footage home and edits it. This is a time-consuming task that he takes on with great attitude. There have been many nights when we have been on the phone late, solving unexpected issues with software or footage. I've never heard him complain or take a who cares attitude. As a result of his leadership and his amazing team, we have successfully produced weekly videos this year that our students and staff engaged and informed. He also produced our video of the Teacher of the Year nominee, Jamie Butler, with no advance notice on an extremely tight timeline. Congratulations, Andreas. Andreas, do you have a few words?
Yeah, hi. Can you guys hear me?
Go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Ainalum. I'm a senior at ACHS High School, and I want to start by thanking my amazing teacher and pretty much my mom on campus, Mrs. Harris, for nominating me for the Student of the Month for January 2022. I was hoping that I could do something sort of extravagant for my senior year that I would be able to look back on in the future and remember those moments proudly. Thanks to the ACHS leadership program and as a class, I've been able to call my safe place on campus for 4 years. I feel like I've been able to work towards this goal. Alongside with many amazing memories, the time my peers and I have spent working on events, promotions, videos, etc., has allowed me to serve my community in a way that I can be proud of. After I was called into Mrs. Lopez's office, I felt a sort of anxious about why I was there. Ironically, my freshman year math teacher walked in and immediately looked at me and asked, "Are you in trouble?" I told her, "I don't know. I hope not." She replied to me, "Maybe you're the Student of the Month." I was later told that day that she was scolded for telling me that, as it was supposed to be a surprise. With that being said, after I left my principal's office that day, I felt as the time and effort that I had put in despite the crippling senioritis had paid off after all. Lastly, I would like to thank my family for always pushing me to be the best version of myself and always equipping me with the support to go out and strive for success academically and within my passion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The American Canyon High School Student of the Month for February is Miss Trinity Billingsley, And here's what some teachers have to say about Trinity. Ms. Campoy says that Trinity is a student athlete who consistently sets a high bar for what academic expectations can be during a season. She never dropped below an A all year, despite her role on the girls' varsity basketball team. In English class, she is fully present, contributory, and an excellent writer who is able to critically think. I know I can count on her in class to not only individually participate, but she will also bring up those around her and get them talking too. Trinity already came in fairly confident at the start of the year, but since August, I've watched her grow even more, and I can really look forward to what she can accomplish after high school. She's the type of student who definitely leaves a positive legacy at American Canyon High School. Miss Bell says it's like she breathes good energy into the class. Mr. Jennifer adds that she is very energetic, very intelligent, a hard worker, excellent athletic and academic balance, and she is the perfect example of what a student athlete should be. And finally, Miss Davis says that she brings a lot of energy to whatever room she is in or activity she is involved in. She wants to get better at everything she does, whether it is sports or learning skills, concepts in our CTE sports medicine pathway. It has been a privilege to watch her grow in maturity and responsibility while in my classes over the last 3 years, as well as her leadership on the basketball court. It is quite the celebration for this month, with being Student of the Month and being the first basketball player in school history to score 1,000 points at the varsity level. Congratulations, Trinity. Trinity, would you like to address the board?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
So, hi, my name is Trinity, and I wanted to start off by thanking and showing my gratitude to all the staff at American Canyon High School, Ms. Lopez, and especially my English teacher, Ms. Campoy, for recognition and being Student of the Month. I've been a student here all 4 years, and I've had an amazing experience at this school. I think it's important and essential to be recognized for great behavior and performance to continue to encourage this type of behavior. And personal to me, I think it gives me a boost and motivation to finish out my senior year strong. All the teachers I've had and a lot of the staff around me have made my experience here that much more memorable, and I've been given many opportunities to demonstrate what I've learned and what I know. I initially want to talk about the importance I hold in receiving and earning exceptional grades, and having a 4.22 cumulative GPA was earned through my involvement in AP courses and honors classes. A lot of advanced placement and honors courses offered at American Canyon have helped me maintain a clear focus on the career path I intend to pursue, a few being AP Bio, AP Psychology, and Honors Anatomy. The electives I have taken have also played a significant role in the knowledge I have now regarding healthcare positions. These include Sports Medicine 1 and 2 and Leadership in Health. I'm thankful to be involved in clubs such as the National Honor Society, which is a club that recognizes students who excel in the classroom. Additionally, wanted to make changes in the aspects of the community, as well as being in the Black Student Union. The biggest extracurricular that requires a lot of my attention is basketball, which is actually where I'm at right now. I've been playing at this school for all 4 years at the varsity level, and I participate in travel basketball outside of school as well. Being able to have coaches and the staff at the school be flexible has made it a lot easier for me to participate in multiple activities without feeling restricted and unable to do more than one thing. After high school, I plan on majoring in nursing and earning a BSN. I then plan to attend school as a graduate student to become a nurse practitioner. I've also been blessed to be recruited for basketball, so I plan to continue both my academic and athletic career after I graduate. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Principal Jordan, would you like to present your November and December Students of the Month? Principal Jordan, are you with us?
Well, it helps if I unmute my
Well,
device
welcome.
here. It's only been 2 years of working on Zoom, right? Thank you to the board. It's always a pleasure to be able to come and present adult education students and really shine a light on the great work that the adults in our community are doing as they re-enter the education field. And Trinity, if you're still there, don't pass up the CNA program at Napa Valley Adult Ed. It's a great first step into healthcare. Thank you to Dr. Massetti and the rest of Cabinet for giving us this opportunity. We have 2 students tonight, and I don't know how I get so lucky to be able to present these students. The teachers do all the hard work, and I get the glory of presenting them to the board. But first off, we have Jesus Gomez, and Jesus has a written statement here from his teacher, Kristen Ward, and so I'll read it for the board and for the rest of the audience here. Jesus Gomez enrolled at Napa Valley Adult Education in mid-November with 38 credits to finish, and he did so in just 3 months. As an elementary, middle, and high school student, Jesus did not like school. He did not like being there all day and being around lots of people. While in traditional high school, Jesus felt like he was just not meant to be in school. When he was 16 or 17, he had his first child. Jesus now has 3 children, ages 12, 6, and 3. Earning his high school diploma at the age of 29 has been an inspiration to his children. Jesus's partner was excited and was pushing him for a long time. She has her diploma and a fantastic job as a dental assistant. Jesus says that his mom always dreamed about my diploma, and my dad and my sisters are proud of me too. Jesus put a lot of time in, and he says that, and as he says, he was more into school now than anything else. His attitude changed about high school now, and he's very excited for his future in the electrical field. Jesus says that his next steps are to go to electrician school, hopefully with an apprenticeship at the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Miss Ward would like to say to Jesus that, let him know that she is very proud of him, and Jesus, proud of all of your academic achievement and the time and effort that you've put in at Napa Valley Adult Education in the 3 months that you've been with us. I'm so happy for you. You've been able to prove some of your past high school teachers wrong. You did it, Jesus. You passed all of your exams, completed all of your credits, and your diploma is in your hand. On behalf of all the high school diploma staff here, we join your family in being very proud of you and your accomplishments. So congratulations, Jesus, on being the November Student of the Month. And Jesus, this is your opportunity to address the board.
Hello, my name is Jesus Gomez, and it's just been an honor to be chosen as Student of the Month. Getting to this point wasn't really that easy, but I'm happy that I took this step. It takes time and dedication, and I was like, I mean, it's all worth it, you know? With my kids and everything, it's been hard to put stuff to the side and finish everything, and I'm glad that I did it, and I'm here. So, yeah.
Congratulations. Principal Jordan, do you have another Student of the Month?
Yes, our December Student of the Month is Jose Villegas. Jose has a written statement from his teacher, Grant Dinsdale. Mr. Dinsdale says that Jose is the type of student that any teacher would love to have in their classroom. As an ESL student at Napa Valley Adult Education, Jose arrives at our evening classes full of positivity and enthusiasm, always eager to improve his fluency in English. He's an excellent classmate, helpful to his fellow students, and frequently contributes to class discussions. Jose isn't afraid to take risks in his education, knowing that if he makes a mistake, it is just another opportunity to learn. On top of all that, Jose owns and runs his own construction business and is devoted to his wife and 2 children. It is amazing that he has the time and energy to do it. As you can see, he is highly deserving of this honor of Student of the Month. Congratulations, Mr. Villegas. Jose, if you'd like to address the board.
Jose, are you with us?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Jose Villegas, and I'm happy to be the student at a year ago. I decided to enroll because I need to learn how to write and speak more English. The English is very important in my job. I work in the construction, and I need to speak English in my job. Now I'm doing better because the school has helped me a lot. Mrs. Robin helped me a lot in the beginning, and now Mr. Grant and Mrs. Michelle are helping. I'm very happy to be in Napa Valley Adult School. Everybody is super nice. And thank you so much.
Congratulations. Well, congratulations to our 4 students of the month. We now move on to public comment on non-agenda items. Members of the audience may address the board on any school-related matter that is not on the agenda. The board will not take action on any issue raised during this section of the agenda, inasmuch as board action is limited to posted agenda items. Speakers are requested to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Trustee Water, do we have any public comment on non-agenda items received via email at publiccomment@nvusd.org?
No public comments on non-agenda items were submitted via email before 8 a.m. this morning.
Thank you, Trustee Water. Mr. Michaels, do we have any public comment?
We do. First speaker is Francine Knittel. Go ahead, please.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
We can.
First, let me just start with the definition of hypocrisy, the practice of claiming to have moral standards or beliefs to which one's own behavior does not conform. I find it very interesting that each and every one of you believe that the COVID is only a dire death threat to mankind in your school board chambers. Clearly, by your blatant words and actions during your virtual board meetings and displays of social distancing, having plexiglass between you, the constant wearing of masks and forbidding parents to be in the same room with you during your meetings, clearly you believe that COVID is a death sentence to each of you. But what is, well, nothing short of a miracle is that the threat seems to literally disappear the second your meeting is over and you walk out of the door. Case in point, last week, Board President Jankowicz was at a fundraiser at the Napa Bowl, all smiles. I saw for my own eyes because she was not wearing a mask, sitting literally shoulder to shoulder with friends, some unvaxxed, clearly living the life of freedom and without a care in the world about the COVID. Funny how she believes the virus is deadly in the boardroom, but not at the bowling alley. While President Jankowicz goes along with forced vaccination against one's will, masking children and the segregation of the vaxxed and unvaxxed, clearly when she is not on the clock, she applies none of these beliefs to her own life and lives in complete freedom. Oh wait, there's a word for someone like her. It's called being a hypocrite. We know for a fact that none of you practice what you preach. You all go about your lives going to parties and meetings without masks or social distancing. I guess that makes all of you hypocrites. You are all playing us for fools. Well, I've got some news for you. We are not fools. We know exactly what's going on here and why, and we will continue to protest and rally and call into these meetings until 100% freedom is restored, especially for our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next speaker, please.
Yes, next speaker is by the name PK. Go ahead, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Great. So this call is about a subject that I don't see listed on your agenda, and that subject's called hypocrisy. Well, it's either hypocrisy or the local emergency is over, because on February 5th, 2022, school board President Robin Jankowicz marched into the Napa bowling alley and she formally declared it by not wearing a mask while not social distancing with many people who were sitting right next to her who are not fully vaxxed. So you see, hypocrisy is the practice of claiming to have moral standards or beliefs to which one's own behavior does not conform. Now, she might think that hypocrisy is an acceptable behavior. As you know, school board chairperson back in December, trustee Alba Gonzalez Mares did this very same thing at a Mike Thompson fundraiser inside the Culinary Institute. No mask, walking and talking and drinking wine, taking selfies with her fellow political hypocrites. They were having so much fun, they forgot to even take out their cameras, but thanks to Liz Alicio, they were able to snap a few shots so we could all see how much fun the school board chairperson was having without her mask on, the one she forces all the school kids to wear. And then I'm sure she also saw the mayor of San Francisco, the mayor of Los Angeles, and the king himself, Gavin Newsom, go maskless while watching a football game inside the fancy skybox. So I'm demanding for you to all unmask the school children, because we know that you do not wear your masks when you're out partying with your friends. Your behavior is disgusting. Goodbye.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please.
Yes, next speaker, Jose Villegas. Go ahead.
Jose, are you with us?
Do you have a comment, sir?
He was our student of the month. He was a student of the month, Mr. Michaels. It may be that his hand is still raised.
Okay, then we have no further public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to reports. We are going to start Board of Education and Student Board Representative reports. Student Board Member Bitt, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you. So I don't have much to report this time around, but I did want to start off by saying Happy Black History Month. And then I also wanted to congratulate Aries Analytics. He was one of the American Canyon Students of the Month. We're childhood friends and I'm just really proud of him. And I think that he's super deserving of the title. But that concludes my report for today.
Thank you. Trustee Water, would you like to go next?
Thank you. I went to the Board Advisory Facilities and Tech Committee meeting. All of us had some training on the issue of expulsion. I went to the Board Advisory Policy meeting. We had a special meeting on the 27th. Let's see, on January 29th, we had another special meeting that was actually open to the public, but none of them came, and it's too bad. They would have loved it. And also, and then that night I went to the ACHS drive-through crab feed benefiting the choir. I went to the Napa County Office of Education meeting on February 1st. We had a special board meeting on February 3rd. You all were there. You can tell us about it. And this week I went to the Harvest Long-Term Vision Community meeting. And I also tuned in on the Oakland School Board meeting.
Trustee Gracia?
Yes, on the 25th, I attended the Employee of the Year celebration.
Oh, yeah.
On the 27th, the mid-year superintendent eval, the 29th, the board evaluation, the first, the NCOE board meeting, and on the 8th, the Harvest Community meeting.
Thank you. Trustee Reiser?
Yes, thank you. A lot of overlap here. I attended the online Employee of the Year celebration, which even though it had to be virtual, I think was still a really special and celebratory honoring with a lot of cool moments in it. I also, like Trustee Waters mentioned, had a training meeting regarding expulsion and student discipline, the Board Advisory Policy Committee meeting, the special board meeting that was about the superintendent evaluation, followed by also a 6-hour meeting that Saturday that was a board self-evaluation workshop. I listened into the Napa County Office of Education public hearing on February 1st. The 3rd, we had a special board meeting on redistricting. And then this Tuesday, I also tuned into the community engagement meeting, the first one of 3 for the long-term vision for the Harvest Middle School property. And this concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Gonzalez Maris.
Same. I think I'll just add that I attended Black History Month event on a Saturday virtual. I attended that last year as well, and many community members share stories about our NVUSD, both the good and the bad. And but you know, it's good to listen, right? So that was a good time to listen. And I know that we're doing a lot of groundwork and deep work to address some of those issues that were brought up. And I think just with the Harvest long-term vision community meetings, just looking forward to engage a bit more of our Spanish-speaking communities on that end. So I'm trying to figure out how I can do that, inspired by Trustee Chu's last meeting when redistricting in her creativity and way of just trying to engage. So looking at some ways to do that on my end.
Thank you very much. Trustee Chu.
So I also attended many of the district meetings alongside my fellow trustees. In addition, I attended the Community Advisory Committee meeting, which I'll report on later. And I also bought some crab for the AC Choir crab feed, which actually became our Chinese New Year reunion dinner. So thank you for saving me a day of cooking, and happy Chinese New Year for our Asian communities out there who celebrate that. And also the month of February in American Canyon is very special because we have our Heart Your Park month as part of our American Canyon Parks and Community Foundation work with our with basically all our children in our community. All of our elementary and middle schools have painted one heart. We had they had a contest, and the winner from each school got to paint their heart, and it's displayed in front of their schools. So if you would like to take a tour of our schools from the outside, you could see all the beautiful, wonderful work of our students. And not to be outdone, our American Canyon High School has created, their ceramics class has created these wonderful heart bonus gifts, I guess, for all the new memberships for the month of February. So really grateful for the community participation with our schools and engagement of our students to do that. And we also, actually, Trustee Reiser and I went to last Saturday's event that they had where students and any children actually got to paint hearts to hang around all of our parks for other people to find.
Thank you for sharing. Trustee Dooley.
So I too attended most of the same meetings, the policy committee meeting on the 27th, the board evaluation on the 29th. I attended the county office of education meeting on February 1st. And then the Harvest Vision or long-term vision community engagement meeting on the 8th. And I would like to plug those meetings, the upcoming meetings, to encourage the public to join us as we kind of work through what the future of that site will look like. It's pretty exciting. It's not something that as a district that we do every day. So it's really helpful to have that input. And then after that, I tuned in to the Oakland Unified School District School Board meeting, which was rather enlightening. So thanks.
I encourage everybody to go to the website to get instructions on how to participate in the Harvest Long-Term Vision Community Engagement meetings. I enjoyed the Honoring Employees of the Year event hosted by Assistant Superintendent Dana Page. Quite honestly, Mike Mansway brought me to tears. I too attended an expulsion and discipline matter training, extremely informative. Board meeting on the 27th and the follow-up on the 29th, the NCOE Charter Appeal Public Hearing. I had the privilege of attending the middle school social where an invitation was extended to all middle school teachers to gather and get to know their peers. It was a unique opportunity for teachers to connect outside of their classrooms, and it was a welcoming gesture for those teachers that might be joining the Silverado and Redwood campuses. Additional special board meeting on the 3rd, Trustee Grassi and I had an opportunity to discuss surplus property with Assistant Superintendent Mangwala. On Saturday, I did attend a memorial fundraiser for Daryl and Joe Horn, the husband and son of an adored NVUSD employee, and I believe, as stated, that was celebrated on social media. And lastly, I attended via Zoom the Harvest Long-Term Vision Community Engagement. Oh, and I too also tuned into the Oakland School Board meeting. That takes us through our Board of Education reports. We're going to go to board representative reports and Special Education Community Advisory Committee.
So we met on the 24th of January, and it was a meeting to discuss the Inclusion Awards and Creativity Challenge. And I'm looking forward to seeing the results of that.
Thank you. City of American Canyon.
We have not met.
We have not met. City of Napa.
We have not met.
Town of Yountville.
It's been approximately 13 months since last we met.
Thank you, Trustee Gracia. Dr. Musetti, Superintendent and Executive Staff reports.
Great, thank you, President Jankwitz, and good evening to the NVUSD Board of Education and the broader NVUSD community at large. I want to take a moment. We will be celebrating a 3-day weekend. So for Lincoln's birthday tomorrow being honored. And I also want to recognize that this month is Black History Month. And we're currently curating experiences that our students are having across classrooms, across the district, or the different ways that they're learning about Black History Month. So stay tuned. There's actually a feature of one of those learning moments in our classrooms in our upcoming family newsletter. I know our staff and families are excited that this afternoon was actually the start of a 3-day weekend, given the challenges that we've been facing since the start of school post the winter break. I'm happy to report, very happy to report that our COVID-19 case counts have dramatically dropped in the last week, which is definitely making school operations much more manageable. In fact, they've been reduced by over half, so by over 50%. We know state guidance is undergoing its next round of revisions. You're probably reading about that. It's on the horizon, especially around indoor masking in places except schools. Masks will continue to be required for all individuals in K-12 indoor settings, regardless of vaccination status. We do expect the guidance for K-12 schools to also eventually change sometime in the future based on discussions at the county and state level. However, I need to remind everyone on the call today, we will continue to remind the NVUSD community via our communication channels that these are guidelines that are set by the county and by the state. We do not have an option to not follow the guidelines set by the county and by the state. So for those who believe that we can, we cannot. And we have that again as an informational item on tonight's agenda. We will continue to post it as an informational item as we continue to have to navigate the implementation of these county and state guidelines. Tonight, I'd like to take a brief moment to recognize the Napa Valley Community Foundation that continues to demonstrate generosity and support for our schools. We were recently notified that the district was the recipient of a grant in the amount of $20,000 from the Daisy Cavalli Extracurricular Designated Fund to support the costs at American Canyon High School, Napa High School, New Tech High School, Vintage High School, and Valley Oak related to socioeconomically disadvantaged high school students' participation in extracurricular activities that help students prepare and be accepted for post-secondary studies. So we really, again, appreciate their generosity and continuous support of our students. Thank you to everyone. Many of the trustees alluded to the Harvest Middle School community input session that we hosted on Tuesday. Thank you to all who attended. We appreciate the time you invested to learn about the future of the property and to provide your feedback on the goals and priorities for the future of this site. You can view an archive of the meeting at nvusd.org. All of the presentation materials and the videos of the meetings are there as well. Please again, join us for our next community input session on February 22nd, and mark your calendars for our final meeting on March 15th. We again will have meetings at 5:30 in English and 7:30? No, 7 o'clock in Spanish. All are welcome. The next one will be via Zoom, and we do want to encourage as much participation as possible. I share the same desire that was expressed by Trustee Gonzalez Mares, like to find a way to engage and increase the participation in our Spanish meeting. So we will continue to work on that. I want to wish everyone a happy long weekend. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my assistant superintendents who will provide updates from their division. So tonight we have Director Sarah Knox, who will be reporting for the Instructional Services Division since Assistant Superintendent Pat Andrew Jennings is not available this evening. So Ms. Knox, are you ready to report?
I am. Thank you, Dr. Massetti. Good evening, President Jankowicz, Board Trustees, Student Representative Bitt, and Dr. Massetti. Despite the persisting pandemic, our NVUSD teachers continue to demonstrate a strong commitment to their own professional development. COVID has forced a shift to providing opportunities after school hours, and our teachers are showing up to learn and grow together. In the last few weeks alone, we've had over 100 elementary teachers attend optional after-school workshops focused on early literacy, addressing learning gaps, and meeting the needs of our advanced learners. Meanwhile, in support of board priority number 3, principals have ensured that math lesson study and coaching continues during the school day with our 2 math coaches, even without subs, often with the principals covering their classes themselves. Thank you, teachers, for your dedication. It's course registration season for middle and high schools, with students selecting courses for the 2022-23 school year. I want to say a special thank you to our counseling teams during National Counselors Week. Our counselors are busy during this season supporting NVUSD strategic plan goal number 1, college and career readiness, by counseling our students on the path to post-secondary opportunities. As a part of board priority number 3, the new math pathways will provide students a more diverse course menu for their junior and senior years. Data science and the revision of probability and statistics are University of California supported pathways, and we look forward to students engaging in those courses and providing teacher training. Redwood Silverado and Unidos Middle School hosted family webinars and brought administrators, counselors, and students to Harvest and River Middle School this week to welcome students, provide an overview of the school programs and supports, and register students for classes. Thank you to the staff, students, and leaders who are focused on events that provide an inclusive, safe, and supportive transition this spring. Additionally, MVEA and Silverado Middle School co-hosted a middle school staff social on February 2nd that allowed staff from all of our middle school sites to come together, meet colleagues from across the school district, and tour the Silverado campus. We look forward to providing a more formal presentation on the middle school transition work to the trustees and public in March. In student services, as Dr. Massetti alluded to earlier, we're encouraged by the current trends showing a steady decline in COVID cases. For the week of January 17th, we had 570 cases. The week of January 24th, 408, and the week of January 31st, 252 cases. Later on in tonight's agenda, I, along with Dr. Peter Aboud, will provide a progress update on board priority number 2, MTSS implementation and youth mental health in NVUSD. Finally, our professional development day planning team is hard at work preparing for another engaging day of learning and collaboration at our Leaning Into Learning 2.0 PD Day on Friday, March 11th. Session themes include instruction, assessment, engagement, wellness, and technology. More to come on that soon. Thank you so much for your time. And that concludes the ISS team report.
Thank you, Director Knox. Next, we'll hear from Assistant Superintendent Rob Manguala, who oversees business services.
Thank you, Dr. Massetti. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to update the board and the community. The business service team is working hard getting ready for the second interim, which covers the period ending 1/31/2022. We'll be bringing second interim to the March 17th, 2022 board meeting. Second interim is the time for the district to update their budget while also highlighting some of the proposals for the education budget for the coming fiscal year. Some of the highlights you'll be seeing are a cost of living adjustment to the local control funding formula in the 5 to 6% range. The projected cost of living adjustment continues to increase due to historic inflation that has not been this high since the 1980s. The Federal Reserve will likely increase interest rates at their next meeting. They may even need to increase rates by 0.5% instead of the usual 0.25% due to very, very strong inflation. This movement towards tightening monetary supply will likely negatively impact capital gain taxes, which the California economy is very dependent on. On the funding front, we will likely see some sort of 3-year average used to calculate average daily attendance. While this is a great improvement and will buy school districts time to right size, additional changes need to occur, including a hold harmless average daily attendance for the current year. This is due to attendance rates being far below historic averages due to the pandemic. The enrollment department is busy placing TK families. As you know, age eligibility was expanded to eventually allow all 4-year-olds the ability to enroll in TK. We have enrolled a total of about 150 students for TK, which is already 50% of a projected TK enrollment. Great job, enrollment team. We will continue to watch enrollment closely. The data team is in the process of analyzing student data from our STAR assessments. Dr. Aboud will be bringing a presentation to the board on March 3rd. The technology department continues to focus on supporting users while putting systems and improvements in place to ensure the safety of our network and users. We are also gearing up for the admissions of standardized tests this spring. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Manguala. Next, we'll hear from Assistant Superintendent Dana Page, who oversees human resources.
Good evening, President Jankowicz, Board of Trustees, Dr. Massetti, and Student Board Representative Bitt. The 22-23 hiring season is officially open. We have our first 3 administrative positions for next school year posted: the principal of NVLA, the principal of Bel Air, and the director of student services to replace Mike Mansway, who recently announced his retirement at the end of this school year. You will see a contract tonight for NAS recruiting. NAS recruiting will be building a new online portal that will become part of the NVUSD website, but it will specifically provide more and better information for current and prospective employees about the benefits and opportunities the district provides. As we are facing one of the toughest recruiting environments in memory, we are looking for many legs up to ensure that we are meeting our goal of attracting, hiring, and retaining the best employees throughout the district. We recently worked with focus groups of current employees to tell us about their experience and what we should convey to people considering applying for a job in NVUSD. They helped us to draft this message: transform your career by joining a collaborative, inclusive environment that offers the opportunity to do the most innovative, rewarding work. Be part of a family-oriented, welcoming community that thrives in one of the nation's most picture-perfect settings. I love this message, and I can't wait to spread the word about our incredible district as we recruit for the future. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Page. I love that message too. Next, we'll have Assistant Superintendent Mike Pearson, who oversees operational.
Good evening, President Jankowicz, MVUSD Board of Education Trustees, Dr. Massetti, Student Board Representative Emily Bitt, and members of the MVUSD community. Thank you for an opportunity to provide you with an update from operational services. Myself and Director of Transportation Justin Binion have been working collaboratively with Directors Matt Manning and Monica Reddy to identify consistent start and end times with bell schedules at elementary sites, middle schools, and high schools to improve the efficiency of transportation services for the 22-23 school year. Part of this reason we have also been working closely with Mr. Manning and Ms. Reddy is to implement SB 328, which specifically outlines the start times for high schools and middle schools for the 22-23 school year. As a reminder, SB 328 states high schools cannot start any earlier than 8:30 a.m. and middle schools cannot start any earlier than 8 a.m. Our interest is not only make sure high schools start no earlier than 8:30 a.m., but also to provide middle school students with a start time that is developmentally appropriate. We're in the final stages of setting bell schedule, start time, and end times, and will bring forth the final decision in the near future. Under athletics, the high school winter sports are coming to a conclusion after a successful season in boys and girls basketball, boys and girls wrestling, and boys and girls soccer at all three high schools. I would like to thank athletic directors Darcy Ward at Napa High School, Jill Stewart at American Canyon High School, and Cam Neal at Vintage High School for effectively navigating through the winter sports season during the Omicron surge. It was not easy. Through their dedication and diligence, student athletes were able to complete their seasons. The spring athletic season officially began on Monday, February 7th. High school student athletes will now have an opportunity to compete in baseball, softball, boys and girls lacrosse, swimming and diving, boys golf, badminton, track and field, and the inaugural season of boys volleyball will be happening at American Canyon High School. We wish all of them good luck. And finally, I'm pleased to announce the reintroduction of the middle school athletic program for the 22-23 school year. Staff and I have been working on different sports to offer at American Canyon Middle School, Redwood Middle School, Silverado Middle School, and Unidos Middle School, where the four middle schools will compete amongst each other next year. Most of the options will be available for 7th and 8th grade students, but 6th grade students will also have an opportunity to compete in a couple of sports. Again, I will bring forth final decisions in the near future. And this concludes my report for tonight. Thank you.
We do. Mr. Pearson, is Ms. Jurgensen here doing that tonight?
Yes, Dr. Musetti, we are having a facilities report. So I'd like to introduce Vice President of Van Pelt Construction Services, Kelly Jurgensen, who is also monitoring and implementing our Measure H bond program. I will join Ms. Jurgensen as needed. So Ms. Jurgensen.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Musetti and trustees. We just wanted to take an opportunity to give the board a quick update on how things are going for planning for next summer. It can never be too soon to start planning for our summer construction season. So we are already hard at work. As always, our planning and construction projects are under Goal 4 of NVUSD strategic plan. We will be talking about fencing, finishing kitchens, campus modernizations, American Canyon Middle School student commons update, some of our summer to-dos, and then we're also going to give you a quick update on the Vintage High School tennis courts. So we are getting underway collecting bids for upcoming fencing projects that will start in the spring and go all the way through to the summer in preparation for when students return in August. These projects will be taking place at the New Tech High, Phillips Elementary School, Alta Heights Elementary School, Northwood, Bel Air, and NVLA. So we are in the process of planning for these projects and have met with each of the principals at each of these sites so that we can make sure that we're all on the same page. When this project starts, it can happen as smoothly as possible. So we will be returning to the board shortly with bid results on these projects. Finishing kitchens. We are planning to get started on finishing kitchens at the sites at Bel Air and in VLA. We will be following the same model that we have followed in the past projects. These will be kitchens 7 and 8 of the long-term plan, turning everything over to finishing kitchens where we'll be serving hot, fresh food to students, and the next recipients will be Bel Air and NVLA. These bid results will also be coming to the board in upcoming meetings, and we are getting prepared to do this work in the spring and take it all the way through summer. We will also continue to do our campus modernization projects, replacing more roofs, getting in more new HVAC systems, and hopefully helping maintenance reduce the number of work orders by giving them nice new products for the start of the school year. This summer, we'll be focusing at NVLA, Napa High School gym, and Redwood Middle School gym, and both of those gyms are the original larger gyms. We also wanted to give you a quick update on what's going to be underway from now and through the summer over at American Canyon Middle School. Along with the construction of the new Student Commons building, we will also be doing lots of site improvements, incorporating that new construction into an all-new campus layout in the central quad. We will be doing campus-wide exterior painting. We will be removing portables at the site to make way for updated outdoor learning environments and providing capacity within our new building as opposed to having portables. And we will be planning for the move and then implementing that move over the summer. So it'll be a pretty busy summer over at American Canyon. And we've taken pictures before of the building itself. So we also wanted to give you a little idea of some of the site work that's going on there. You can see this is one of the amphitheater features in the new site that'll be a gathering place for students. All right, so our to-do list for summer 22, along with all of the other things that I just discussed, we will also be planning for Napa High School to receive some water line replacements, for Silverado Middle School to get hooked up to a new recycled water system for their landscaping. And as always, every summer, we coordinate very closely with maintenance and operations so that their projects and our projects are as seamless and as possible, and we really work together to make sure that things get done. All right, so this is a project that's actually underway right now, so it's not necessarily a summer project, but we also wanted to give you an update on the Vintage High School tennis courts. That construction is underway as we speak. We will be providing new court surfacing, new fencing surrounding the courts, and improvements to utilities. They will have hose bibs and power out there, which will make it a lot easier space to conduct practices, bring equipment out, and things like that. So we're really excited to finish that up and let the Vintage High tennis players test it out. And that concludes my report, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Kelly.
I do have a question. What is the time frame on completion of the Vintage High School tennis courts?
We are looking to complete in March. We're working with the contractor right now. So we're at the tail end of a lot of issues that we had with soils that occurred when we demolished the old tennis court, which was actually part of the problem that was causing all of the cracking on the existing surface. And those got resolved with engineering a fix so that there would be less of that in the future. So we're looking at about March.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that looks like that's all the questions. Thank you so much, Kelly. Okay, moving to I. Background information on the consent agenda items are provided to the board prior to the meeting. A common motion takes action without discussion on a roll call vote unless discussion of item or items is requested by board members.
Move to approve.
Second.
First by trustee Gracia, second by trustee Dooley. Vera, roll call vote, please.
Student Board Member Bitt.
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz.
Aye.
Trustee Gracia.
Aye.
Trustee Water.
Aye.
Trustee Reiser.
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares.
Aye.
Trustee Shu.
Aye.
Trustee Dooley.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. Presentations and discussion items. We're starting with General Services, J1A, Introduction to California School Board Association, CSBA, recommended policy updates for September 2021. On January 27th, 2022, the Board Advisory Policy Committee met and reviewed the California School Board Association recommended September 2021 policy updates. The manual maintenance guide sheet explains all proposed policy changes. The policy revisions, as recommended by CSBA, are being introduced for initial review. The revised policies will be presented as an action item at the upcoming March 3rd, 2022 Board of Education meeting. I know that I appreciate all the work that's been done by the policy committee. Thank you. I know we're not going to editorialize the work that's already been completed, but do we have any comments or changes related to policy or administration of policy at this juncture? Okay, J1B, Introduction to California School Board Association CSBA Recommended Policy Updates, December 2021. On January 27th, 2022, same thing I just read, but it was recommended for the December 2021 policy updates. Again, do we have any comment on the December 2021 policy change? Trustee Garcia.
Yes, just a brief comment. This bylaw change brings us into compliance with SB 328, the new law that requires our high schools not to start before 8:30 a.m. For high school students who are not attending American Canyon High School, this is a big change. Students and parents need to know that instead of currently starting at 8 a.m., they will now start at 8:30 a.m. or later. A 30-minute difference in the start time is a pretty big deal. And I feel like we need to get this information out to parents, students, and the public as quickly as possible. This is especially important considering that the high school students are signing up for classes right now, and this could have a significant impact on whether students take early flight. Additionally, parents and students need as much lead time as possible to arrange their schedules to facilitate new drop-off and pickup routines.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Of course.
Yeah, thank you very much, Trustee Gracia. We do agree with you. A blurb around this has been included in the family newsletter that is being disseminated. I think it went out already this evening. So parents will be informed of kind of these new general parameters. As Assistant Superintendent Mike Pearson shared, we're just going through the final stages of work with our Bell Schedule Committee. And we will communicate the firm start and common start times at the 3 levels very shortly. But like I said, there was a blurb that was included in the newsletter that gives the high school parents this information around high school wouldn't start earlier than 8:30.
Thank you, Dr. Musetti. Mr. Michaels, did we have any public comment on J1A or J1B?
We do not have any public comment.
Thank you, sir. J1C, Introduction of New Board Policy 5141.5 Mental Health. On January 27th, 2022, the Board Advisory Policy Committee met and reviewed BP 51415.5 Mental Health. The new policy will be presented as an action item at the upcoming March 3rd, 2022 Board of Education meeting. Mr. Michaels, do I have any public comment?
We do not have any public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much, trustees. J2 Instructional Services, J2A. We are going to hear from Director Knox and Dr. Aboud on the multi-tiered system of support MTSS progress update.
Good evening once again to President Jankowicz, board trustees, Student Representative Bitt, and Dr. Musetti. I'm pleased to be co-presenting tonight a progress update on our MTSS implementation, along with my colleague, Dr. Peter Aboud. Peter, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Peter Aboud, and I am also pleased to be presenting tonight with Director Knox.
So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will get started. It's loading. Okay, sorry, I have to go back a few slides. Sorry for the whiplash. There we go. Okay, thank you so much for your patience. All right, so we're going to talk, we're actually thrilled to be able to provide a progress update on some of the hard work that our MTSS teams and our sites have been doing around the multi-tiered system of support and supports for students. So again, when we talk about MTSS, really we're talking about the vision of a system that meets the needs of all students. And it answers this question of what if we were able to provide what if we were able to allow students to be able to learn from each other, organize our instructional supports, and bring all of these supports together in a way that creates a place where students, staff, and our families thrive. And really, MTSS is a solution that helps us to achieve that vision. The way that I like to describe MTSS is through an analogy to a dental analogy. And when we think of dentistry, what we think of is a student who was born without any dental concerns will have tier 1 supports in the forms of checkups and cleaning. And that's something that all children who are receiving dental care receive. So that's tier 1 example. But later, the student or the child realizes that they need braces, that they have a cavity. And so they get those extra scoops, those extra supports through specialists who can help them with those pieces, but they still get their checkups and they still get their cleaning. And later, the child's in high school and they get hit in the face with a baseball. And so at that point, they are going to need to have a consultation with an oral surgeon, possibly have a surgical procedure to repair the jaw. And so that's an example of a more intensive service or support that child is going to need along their childhood growing up. And so the same sort of concept takes place in our schools where all of our students get tier 1 supports. Some of them may need some extra sort of secondary supports, and then a smaller percentage will need some more intensive services. All right. The Board of Trustees set out for the 2021-22 school year several board priorities, and MTSS was one of them. So these were the success indicators that the trustees identified in the summer of 2021. An articulated MTSS handbook and intervention maps that ensure that all staff have the knowledge of resource interventions. That interventions will be tracked in Aries, our student information system, to identify and respond to our students' needs. That we would see improvements on our STAR reading and STAR math assessments for those students who are assigned targeted interventions. And that we can have completed, and that staff have completed district-wide training on special education referral processes in order to decrease the identification rates. I'm happy to report that even though we are just a little bit over halfway through the school year, that we have achieved several of these success indicators, and we'll continue to work on refining and perfecting some of the implementations. So we have a handbook that was co-developed with the advisory team that included representatives from all over the school district. We have interventions being tracked in Aries, and we're going to elaborate on that a little bit later in the presentation. And we also have completed district-wide training on special education referrals in order to decrease that special education identification rate. So we will continue to provide ongoing training in that, but there are aspects in the handbook that relate to that, and we've also provided training to staff at the start of the year. There's a question mark next to the improvements on the STAR because, as Dr. Abood will report later, we just recently gave the mid-year assessment for STAR reading and STAR math. And so we are currently disaggregating that data and taking a look at the growth that our students have experienced. And so we will be reporting on that at a later board meeting when we have all of that prepared for you. Part of our work with MTSS this year was to try to get clarity and coherence across our system with what MTSS implementation looks like. And so we turned to this tool, the Fidelity Integrity Assessment that comes out of the Swift Education Center for Transformation. And it just provides a framework for helping to understand what does this sort of nebulous concept of MTSS, what does it actually look like at a school site? And so this is the framework here. And you can see along the left side are the domains. So leadership, MTSS, an integrated educational framework, family community engagement, and then at the bottom, that partnership between the LEA, the district, and our school sites. And then it has features, and then it has items under those features. And so the school sites, the MTSS teams and leadership teams self-assessed their progress in each of those items. And this is what it looks like, their scoring guide. And this is an example of one school's score on each of those items. They didn't just go through and sort of pick scores. They had deep conversations and took lots of notes around what successful implementation for each of those items look like. And so then it resulted in a score, a total score, and then a percentage of implementation, as you can see down at the bottom there. And it also provided each school with strengths and areas of focus. So here you can see the strengths were things like our evaluation processes being helpful to staff, data-based decision-making around academics and behavior. And then some of the areas for growth were behavior supports, academic supports, and instruction. So it helped the sites to, with a strengths-based approach, to figure out some areas that maybe needed to be tightened up, and they needed to, collaborate and think more about what that looked like at their site. What you see here on this slide is the average score on the FIA for all of our elementary sites, and then the average FIA score for all of our secondary sites. So they are definitely doing a lot of work around MTSS, but this is really sort of our baseline year with a full implementation of MTSS, with the handbook, with all of the guidelines. And so we expect these FIA scores to continue to improve. And we are working hard in the instructional division to support sites with coaching, with professional development, technical assistance, to ensure that they have all the tools that they need to continue to progress in those specific areas around MTSS. So our outcomes for this year were to have universal screening in place, were to have teams at every site, to have a handbook, and to have maps that were visual guides for MTSS teams and for our staff to follow, to have an early warning system that could be that safety net that catches kids that kind of fall under the radar, that are sort of like, not showing up through typical tracking that we have. So that early warning system, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And then also data management that's transparent, that follows kids no matter where they go in our system, follows them from elementary to middle to high school, so that we can be informed in what has happened to support a student, what has worked, what maybe didn't work, and we can really work to support students as they continue to progress through our system. And finally, that training and coaching and technical assistance that I alluded to earlier. All right, I'm going to toss it to Dr. Aboud for this next slide.
Thank you, Director Knox. So I'd like to remind the board and the community about the academic universal screeners that we have in place in support of our district MTSS work. You may remember back in the summer of 2020 when you approved the use of the STAR assessments. And as a reminder, these assessments measure students' literacy and math skills and are administered 3 times per year. And these assessments can also be given more frequently to measure student growth for students who are receiving targeted interventions, so that teachers and other school staff don't need to wait for our formal screening windows. So that's our primary academic screener right now. And Director Knox, I will let you speak to the social emotional screener.
Yes, so as we have spoken and presented to the Board Advisory Committee for Curriculum and Instruction. The Strengths and Difficulties Questionnaire, or SDQ, is our universal screener for wellness. And we use the Strengths and Difficulties Questionnaire with all of our students to get a sense of where our students are at, what trends we're seeing with externalizing and internalizing behaviors. And then also, because it's not anonymous, like the California Healthy Kids Survey, we're able to provide targeted supports to students who may need additional support in the area of social emotional needs and mental health needs. Our site MTSS teams are really the foundation of our MTSS work. They are dedicated individuals who are focused on prevention, early identification, needs assessments, and service coordination. They review data weekly to look for trends. They also are case managing students on a weekly basis, and they set priorities and goals for tier 1 and 2 based on the data that they see. They're focusing on students experiencing challenges as well and case managing, and they're addressing not just academic and behavioral needs, but also social emotional needs as well. This is the handbook that I alluded to earlier, and it really is a living document that is, now that we have Google, we can continue to update it, and it's already in the hands of all of our users, our end users. And so just recently, as we added the new layer of Aries Analytics, we were able to just drop that section right into the handbook. And Dr. Aboud's going to talk about a little bit more about Aries Analytics as we continue. And our workflow for MTSS really begins at the classroom level, with the teacher having the focal point being classroom interventions, and with the end goal of being able to successfully address concerns at that classroom level in the least restrictive environment. So the teacher is using our Aries pre-referral tab that we now have in place to identify initial concerns and then document what they've tried at the classroom level to support the students, to support the concerns that the student is experiencing. And they also document outcomes and progress. And then at the team level, the MTSS team level, it's really that more formalized approach. And the MTSS lead is looking at any referrals that come in from the teachers. They're also looking at data as that early warning indicator, looking for trends. And the goal for the team is to address and resolve the concern at the team level, again, in the least restrictive environment possible for the student. Finally, if strategies have been exhausted, we're not seeing improvement at either the classroom level or the MTSS team level, then at that point, the team evaluates whether or not it would be appropriate at that time to refer a student for a special education assessment or 504 evaluation. And again, the ultimate goal is to provide the student with the least restrictive environment possible for them to be successful in, and to reduce those ineligible referrals. And as you'll see along the bottom too, the key here is that all while this process is taking place, the students stay in general education with their peers. These are little snapshots of our MTSS maps that we have for both social, emotional, behavioral interventions, and then also academic interventions. It's just a visual representation of not just the process, but also those early warning indicators, and then what are the actual resource interventions, depending on the grade span, at the tier 1, the tier 2, and the tier 3. And you can see it's going from least restrictive in green up to the most restrictive in red. We love our analogies, Dr. Aboud and I do, and this is really our analogy for MTSS and Aries Analytics role within that system. So Aries Analytics is really our main on-ramp to support, because it is going to be that safety net, that catch-all, that looks for students who are at risk of having difficulties later on. So it's preventative. Other on-ramps could be that teacher noticing some concerns in the classroom and documenting through pre-referrals, and then providing those supports to students in the tier 1 classroom level. The teacher then referring to intervention at the MTSS team level, where they're getting a little bit extra support from resource interventions. Parents requesting support for their child is another on-ramp to support. The IEP, the Individualized Education Plan, and 504 processes are another on-ramp to support for students, with the ultimate end goal being student success. And I'm going to toss it to Dr. Aboud now, who's going to elaborate a little bit more on Aries Analytics.
Thank you. So I will now share with the board how Aries, our student information system, is supporting these various on-ramps that Director Knox just spoke about. So first, Aries Analytics. Our data and assessment team has been working closely with Director Knox and her team to build data dashboards directly into Aries for those early warning indicators that were referenced earlier in the presentation. So here you can see an example of one of the dashboards, which looks at students' English learner status. So a user could easily go into Aries Analytics, look up for their own school, the number and percentage of students in each of these different EL statuses. And all of the dashboards we've built work similarly to this. Next slide, please. And so users can dig even deeper and obtain a list of students that fall into these different categories. So in this screenshot, we're looking at students who are English learners in the district. And next slide. And users can also filter the data by different groups. So for example, a school principal may want to look at English learners at a particular grade level, or look at English learners that have a particular STAR reading score to further narrow down the list of students and ensure that they are accessing interventions that are appropriate to their needs. The entire Aries Analytics system relies on data that is already being input into Aries and does not require syncing from any outside platforms, and truly makes Aries our one-stop shop for data analysis. This tool also allows MTSS teams to easily select students from a list and document those tier 2 and tier 3 interventions that they assign to them directly through Aries. Next slide. Thank you. Aries also provides a page called Student Indicator Details, where we can look at any student and the number of early warning points that they have. So these points are based on those indicators from earlier in the presentation, and students earn more points depending on where they fall in each indicator. So for example, this particular student happens to have 26 early warning points, and you can see why, you can see where those points are coming from. So in this case, it's 3 points for attendance, 3 for their LPAC score, 10 points for being an English learner, and 4 points for their STAR early literacy score. Students can earn anywhere from 0 to 100 early warning points. And these early warning totals are especially helpful for identifying students in need of support prior to them getting to a point where they are getting too far behind and need some more intensive supports. So it lets us catch those kids early on. Next slide. Go ahead and click. And one more time, thank you. So I'd also like to highlight the pre-referral process that Director Knox referred to earlier. This is what helps teachers manage the tier 1 supports that they provide to students. And teachers have had access to do this since the beginning of the school year. And they're able to directly input any academic or behavioral concerns they have, along with the tier 1 supports they're trying at the classroom level. Go ahead and click. And if these interventions are unsuccessful, teachers have the option, again through Aries, to refer a student to the MTSS team. Go ahead and click. And from there, the MTSS teams receive the referrals, process them, and have the option to assign them the most appropriate tier 2 or tier 3 intervention. And one more click. And once the students have been assigned to that tier 2 or tier 3 intervention, the teams are able to go in and periodically provide progress comments and just assess the general success of the intervention to see how our students are progressing along. So it's a nice workflow that's all built within our current student information system. All right, back to you, Director Knox.
Thank you. One of the things that I wanted to mention about this system and having both Aries Analytics and the pre-referral intervention, refer to intervention and intervention pieces be in our student information system in Aries is that Dr. Abood and I and his team could really build the system that worked for our school district, for our school sites, and for our implementation of MTSS. So we had the handbook that was developed by our advisory team, and then we built these systems in Aries specifically designed to what our system was going to look like and what it was going to need and how we needed it to function. And so it's completely customized, and Aries has even remarked to us that that we're sort of, power users of what the capabilities of Aries are. It's really important for us for it to be all living within that one information system for ease of use of our users. And also everything that we input that's now inputted by the MTSS teams, by the teachers, is queryable, which means that we can search and look for trends and what kinds of interventions are occurring, what are they working. We can look for the main types of concerns that we're seeing across the district. From a systems perspective, I just wanted to highlight those features and thank Dr. Abood and his team for collaborating with the instructional division to design such an effective system for our MTSS. All right, so I'm going to switch gears slightly because MTSS, definitely deals with academics and behavior, but it also deals with social emotional well-being of our students, and that includes mental health. So I wanted to provide just a brief update on how things are going with youth mental health in NVUSD. So in the news, you may have seen, or you may have sort of anecdotally experienced this sort of growing youth mental health crisis that is not just affecting our community, but communities across the United States and the world. So part of the increase in incidences of students feeling anxiety or depression, or even, thoughts of self-harm, or possibly attributed to this increased willingness to openly discuss their mental health concerns. It could be also that growing use of social media, increasing academic pressure, limited access to mental health care, health risk behaviors such as alcohol and drug use, or broader stressors such as the rising income inequality, civil unrest, racism, gun violence, climate change, and now the persisting global pandemic. But we believe that in the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. And so we wanted to provide the board and the community an update on what we can do here in NVUSD and what we are doing to support our youth. So number one, create positive, safe, and affirming school environments for our students and their families. Expanding social emotional learning programs. Learning to recognize the signs of changes in mental and physical health among students. Provide a continuum of supports to meet student mental health needs at the tier 1, 2, and 3 levels. Expand our school-based mental health workforce. Support the mental health of all school personnel. Promote enrolling and retaining eligible children in Medicaid, CHIP, Marketplace, and the Marketplace plans. And protect and prioritize those students who have higher needs and those at higher risk of mental health challenges. So in NVUSD, we center our social emotional learning work to create those positive environments around the CASEL framework for social emotional learning. And we have, especially at the secondary level, taken an integrated approach to social emotional learning with the CASEL wheel as the foundation. We also continue to employ PBIS, both at the classroom and school-wide level, to set expectations for positive behavior in our classrooms and throughout our schools. And that includes engaging students, acknowledging positive behavior, responding to inappropriate behavior, and having lots of structure with that warm, strict approach. At the elementary and middle school level, we continue to use Second Step as our social emotional curriculum that is grade level specific and appropriate for students to learn social emotional skills and those interpersonal skills of interacting with their peers. At the elementary level, we brought on board the Toolbox project this year, which has been a big hit with our elementary teachers, with students who talk about using their breathing tool and finding their quiet space, using their quiet safe space tool to find a quiet safe place when they need it, and with parents as well. We have also provided Qpr training across our system, and Qpr training is suicide prevention training that encourages staff to question, persuade, and refer. And the tagline there is, of course, ask a question, save a life. And we continue this year, as we did last year, providing the Care Solace, Care Concierge, or Care Coordinator solution for families, students, and also our staff and our staff's families to expedite mental health care and get them into care as quickly as possible. And information about Care Solace, just as a reference, also went out in the family newsletter that Dr. Mvusd alluded to earlier. So there's a video that kind of explains it, and then there's a link to the actual Care Solace website. As we talked about earlier, the Strengths and Difficulties Screener is our universal screener for wellness. And this is just a sort of an overview of what the questionnaire looks like on the back end when we're tallying up the scores. And what we like about it is that it doesn't just identify difficulties students may be having, but it also identifies those pro-social or strengths, pro-social skills or strengths that students may have as well. And so in grades 4 through 12, the students take the survey themselves and they answer questions like, or they respond to prompts like, I get angry very often, and they say not true, somewhat true, certainly true, or I have at least, one good friend, I think before I do things. And so that just kind of gives you an example of some of the scores. And then the scores are tallied and put into different subcategories like emotional symptoms, conduct problems, and then hyperactivity. And we use those scores again to determine risk factors and also look for trends across grade levels, across schools and system-wide. So in the fall of 2021, the SDQ screener was conducted for all TK through 12 students. For the younger students, the teachers actually reported using the teacher version of the SDQ on those students. And this was the breakdown of the scores. So at the tier 1 level, every student was screened, and we had over 80% of our students fall in that tier 1 or universal area of in terms of like falling in the normal band of the total difficulty score. For at tier 2, we had 10.15% of our students requiring tier 2 services or needing tier 2 services, and that's down from 14% from the fall of 2020 when we first gave the Strengths and Difficulties questionnaire. And then that represents 1,425 students across our system. And at the tier 3 level, we found that 6.7% of our students are in need of tier 3 services for mental health, and that's down from 9% from the fall of 2020. So we were pleased to see some declines, and we attribute some of that to the fact that students are back in school all day, every day, with their peers, with their teachers, and among other things. And that represents 951 students. So that gives you a sense of the baseline data for this school year and compared to the fall of last year. We are happy to continue that Care Solace partnership, like I said, and this gives you a sense of how many of our students and families are taking advantage of this partnership. Where you see warm handoffs, that's where a mental health professional, whether it's a counselor or a social worker, has actually taken a case that has come to them and then handed it off to Care Solace in order for Care Solace to do the heavy lifting of getting that student or their family member into therapy, into care as quickly as possible. So that's where you see warm handoffs. We are thrilled to be able to continue this partnership with Care Solace, and we hope that more people will continue to take advantage of it. It's free for all of our students, their families, for all of our staff, and our staff's families as well. We don't want access. We don't want the delay in the amount of time it takes to access care to be a barrier to people getting the help that they need. So the most common mental health concerns that have been reported are anxiety and depression, which are not surprising given the circumstances and the climate that we're in right now. And the most common behavioral concern that was reported was physical or relational aggression. And these needs are not new, but they have been amplified because of the pandemic and other societal stressors. People being at home without, interacting with others for a long time, it makes sense that there will be some social skills issues as they return back to school with their peers. I just wanted to call out and lift up, as we said earlier, it's National School Counselors Week, and we have two of our great counselors pictured here. The mental health supports by the numbers that we have at each of our grade spans. So our mental health staff to student ratio in elementary is 570 to 1. We have 5 elementary counselors, 3 elementary social workers, and 1 social work intern. At the middle school level, the ratio is 244 to 1, with 9 counselors and 1 counseling intern, 2.5 social workers, and 3 social work interns. And at the high school, the ratio is 247 to 1, with 15 counselors, 3 social workers, and sorry, my video's in the way, and 3 counseling interns. All right. Also, for 2021-22, we were able to provide, with some of our COVID relief dollars, increased support for mental health. We specifically added 3.5 school counselors, 2 at the high school and 1.5 at the elementary level. We added 2 social workers, and we were able to dedicate one of our social workers specifically to support our foster and McKinney-Vento eligible students. We had our McKinney-Vento temporarily unhoused student population rise significantly with the wildfires and with the pandemic. And so we needed to offer that support. We also were able to add 3.5 Mtss therapists at the elementary level to provide therapeutic and small group social skills supports at our schools that don't have a counselor or a social worker. We those teams of individuals, amazing individuals, the counselors, social workers, they work in collaboration with administrators and with our MTSS teams to screen using our universal screening with that STQ, provide early intervention and prevention, and then triage, providing this tiered service delivery model with targeted evidence-based interventions like check-in and check-out, mentoring, bounce back, and cognitive behavioral therapy, as well as individual and group counseling to students who need extra support. And then also connect our students and their families with our interns, with our community partnerships, and to coordinate services that may be available on the campus. And so this just gives you kind of an overview of what interventions we have to support mental health at each level. So at the tier 1, we have school-wide PBIS. We have restorative practices with community circles. We have social emotional learning curriculum, and then we have that screener for everyone. We have group counseling, bounce back, therapeutic groups, check-in and check-out and mentoring at the tier 2. And then one-on-one individual counseling, intensive case management, behavior intervention plans, and referrals to community service partners as a tier 3 intensive intervention. It really is a collaborative approach, a school and community partnership. We rely and are so appreciative of our community partners in order to have a successful wellness program in our school district. So we have at our schools the social workers, the counselors, dedicated space, screenings and coordination. And then our community partners, who I'll highlight here in a moment, really are that extra scoop that allows us to really provide world-class service to our students and their families. So I want to spotlight Mtss and Teens Connect, News, Aldea, the LGBTQ Connection, Voices, Puertas Abiertas, 10,000 Degrees, and Napa Valley Education Foundation, who provides a lot of our funding that helps us with our wellness programs, that helps us to continue to provide programs like Second Step, and those extra pieces that we need to fund this important work. In addition to the COVID relief dollars and the Education Foundation, we rely on grants to provide social workers, to provide stipends for interns that we have, to provide additional counselors and school therapists through Mtss. And that concludes our report. We thank you so much for the opportunity. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Director Knox. Thank you, Dr. Abood. Board, is there, Mr. Michaels, do we have any public comment on this item before we move to board?
There's no public comment on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Michaels. Any discussion?
I do have a brief comment to make. I just wanted to highlight how impressive the data integration and tracking is that the team has developed. It's quite a robust and impressive system. So well done on that. And it looks like we're making progress on getting the rest of the system up and running. So keep going. Good job.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that. It's very impressive. I'm glad we're making the best use of Aries. And I asked a question at one of the meetings. So is this going to be like cradle to grave? Does this ever disappear? And because I wouldn't like a student's antics or, depression when he was in, say, 5th grade to dog him when he was applying for graduate school. And the answer was no, it's something that, will indeed vanish into the ether. Okay.
Trustee Chu?
So I'll have to say this is very impressive. And just for myself being I guess I'm still relatively new trustee, although getting a lot of experience. one of the, probably the most difficult thing that we do on the school board is to look at student behavior and expulsions. And I feel like most of the time, these students kind of fell through the cracks, or we didn't get them the right intervention at the right time. So I feel like this system is actually going towards getting them the support they need. And I'm looking forward to a day when this is fully implemented, it's working like as it's intended, and we don't see those students coming up to where we're sitting to discuss whether or not we need to let them go to another school district where they might not get support. And I'm really happy that we are going down this road to get the data and to have collaboration across the grade span for the students, because I think you need to have this constant communication from one teacher to the next in order to make that happen. And I would hate for any of our students to fall through the crack. So really, really happy to see this work coming to fruition.
Thank you, Trustee Chu. Trustee Reiser?
I could go on and on about how much I love this system. And in fact, my fellow trustees know that I have already. So I will keep it short, but it's very clear to me how customized this is by people that really understand deep in their bones what challenges face teachers in the classroom. So my hat's off to Director Knox and Dr. Abood. This is so smart. It's so thoughtful. The number of efficiencies that will make teachers work easier I could go on and on about those. Just it will be supportive to teachers and while also holding teachers accountable for taking the appropriate steps. It's going to be incredibly supportive to students and families. The amazing functionality of the Aries clearinghouse of all the data just blows my mind. And just, I think it all comes down to what Trustee Chu said, which is that this will allow our working professionals across our district to identify the kids who have needs that are beyond tier 1 and to get them the right kind of help as soon as possible. And that's going to be life-changing for a lot of our kids. And it's going to make the work that the teachers and counselors and site leaders do so much more targeted and efficient and strategic. So it's that's all I'll say, but in addition to, I'm just very, very assured by the incredible work we're doing in our student wellness and mental health support. And that is really necessary now more than ever. And I just am very proud that we are making such strides in increasing that support as well. So this presentation was just A+ for me, such great work and such exciting implications for our kids and their futures.
Thank you.
I echo a lot of what has been said. Thank you, Director Knox and Director Abood for this tremendous work. It just feels so comprehensive in every way possible. I don't know what stone you did not turn or what corner you didn't research. And so it's a very impressive progress update. You got just a couple of things come to mind when with your presentation is just making informative decisions for the sake of our staff and our students. And I think this is data driven. It's giving us a baseline. You mentioned partnerships, which is key. We can't do it all alone. And all of that is just reflected here. So I just look forward to the future progress updates, but absolutely impressed by this and just well done. And then the other way I see this is I just see a tremendous amount of work going into prevention as well. And so a lot of this is exactly addressing those key spots to prevent a lot of things that occur to our kiddos. So thank you so much.
Trustee Dooley.
I'm not going to repeat what my fellow trustees have said, but I do appreciate the comprehensive nature of this report and the fact that that is a reflection of our focus on the whole student and how this system is designed to not only address academic supports, but also mental health supports, social emotional supports. It's a full service, whole student approach, and this presentation was reflective of that, and it was very helpful to see how it all integrates together. So thank you.
Well, Director Knox and Dr. Aboud, I appreciate the comprehensive, anything I say is going to be duplicative, but it is clear that this was effective, efficient, comprehensive, and excellent work. And we appreciate everything that was put into it. And we certainly look forward to the progress ahead. So thank you both very much.
No, I think everything's been said, but I just want to illuminate that this is what happens when a board sets priorities. So you see the results of the focus, right? As laser-like focus. I think that the staff is producing for our kids in response to us providing that focus. And so this work is evidence, and all of the success indicators that were articulated by the governance team related to this board annual priority are being hit. And I think that's because the staff has clarity on what needs to get done.
Thank you. Everyone, the board is going to take a 5-minute recess. So thank you very much, and we will be back to you shortly. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We are now going to move to J2B, Local Control and Accountability, LCAP, Mid-Year Report and 2022 Supplement to Annual Update for 2021-22 LCAP. Assistant Superintendent Pat Andrew Jennings, are you with us? Mr. Michaels, do you have Miss Andrew Jennings?
She's on the meeting. I've asked her to unmute.
Great, thank you very much.
Mr. Michaels, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for being patient. Can you go ahead and bring up the slide presentation? Good evening, President Janko. Oh, hold on, let me turn my camera off. Good evening, President Janko, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Mvusd, and Student Representative Bitt, and members of the community. Tonight, I'd like to share with you our local control and accountability plan mid-year update and supplement to the annual update. Can you go to the next slide, please? The presentation topics tonight are the mid-year data on the LCAP goals and the supplement to the annual update for the 2021-2022 LCAP. Next slide, please. So before I launch into the timeline, I just want to share a little bit about, what is LCAP? For those of you who are joining us this evening, LCAP stands for Local Control and Accountability Plan, and it's how our district determines how they would like to allocate resources to support students in added or improved services who are unduplicated, meaning they're eligible for free or reduced lunch, our English learners, or our foster or homeless youth. And every year we go through a process to determine how we want to allocate those funds. So between January and March, we do a needs assessment and a data review. And part of what I'm presenting to you tonight is our sort of mid-year progress on our LCAP goal. We also look at attendance and achievement data. We draft based, and then I engage, and I'll get to it in a little bit. I also meet with various community members and employee groups, and that helps to determine what changes or adjustments we need to make to our LCAP. During April and May, I draft the document and then bring it back to our District English Learner Advisory Council, as well as our parent advisory group. And then it comes back to the board for a public hearing at the first board meeting in June, and then for the second board meeting at the end of the month for review and approval. Next slide, please. So during this time from January to March, I hold multiple engagement sessions with some of our stakeholders or community partners. I meet with Napa Valley Education Foundation, the Superintendent's Parent and Teacher Advisory Councils, the District's English Learner Advisory Committee, as well as the District Advisory Council. We meet with the SELPA and all of our employee bargaining units. We will also be sending out a survey to parents, students, and staff, and they'll help us to, they'll provide us with feedback on how we're doing on our LCAP goals. And all of these contribute to any revisions that we make to our LCAP. Next slide, please. So what are our LCAP goals? Well, you will hopefully will see quite a bit of alignment and coherence with some of the work that was done, or work that was shared by Director Knox and Dr. Aboud, as well as information around the board's annual priorities and our strategic plan. These 4 LCAP goals come directly from the strategic plan. We, number 1, students will graduate college and career ready. Students will experience responsive and engaging pedagogy. Families will experience robust communication, community engagement, and advocacy. And students will thrive socially, emotionally, and academically. These goals serve as the framework for the work that's done in the division in consideration of the board's annual priorities as well. Next slide, please. So under students will graduate college and career ready, we have sort of identified 4 buckets. One is language and literacy support. Another is math program support, which aligns with one of the board's annual priorities. The comprehensive assessment system, again, aligned with the board annual priorities, and work-based learning experiences, knowing that students need to have those experiences in order to be prepared for college and or career. Next slide, please. So how do we measure progress on whether students are ready to graduate college or who graduate college and career ready? So we look at our graduation rate, we look at our STAR assessment data, which is the local assessment that we use. We look at the CASP data, but we don't have any current CASP data. That's the state assessment, and we will have new data at the end of this year. We look at the A to G completion rate, and that's how many students are graduating having completed the requirements to enter a UC. And then we also look at the college and career readiness indicators, which specific measures on the CDE CDE website that shows whether students are prepared. And they take multiple measures to determine whether students are college and career ready. And you can see from our we have the baseline data that was presented last year when we did our LCAP, and then the most recent data in the far column on the right. Next slide, please. First, for responsive and engaging pedagogy, we focus on 2 things. One is high impact instructional strategies. And that's one of the things that when Director Knox was talking about the tier 1 supports that are provided to all students, that's one of the things that she is referencing. And then also that we want to ensure that English language development happens all day. And so some of that work done with training of teachers in content areas on language development is part of our efforts in these 2 areas. And next slide. And then how we measure that is we look at the progress students make on the LPAC, the English learner proficiency test given by the state or given by us from the state. And we see if students are making at least one, jumping from like a level 1 to a level 2 or level 2 to level 4 over the course of the year. So the state provides us with that rate of progress. And then we also look at a reclassification rate, how many students are being reclassified as English proficient. And we have our baseline data, as I mentioned, that information was presented in the LCAP last June. And then we have our most recent data. So at the most recent data we have for that is that as of January 2022, 7% of our English learners were reclassified. Next slide, please. This one, the families will experience robust communication and community engagement and advocacy. We looked at 2 things. One, proactive family engagement and communication. And you can see our efforts through the information going out through Parent Square, the postings on Facebook, and the work of our parent liaisons, and then also providing high quality translation services. So that is one area that we've worked hard on this year to make sure that all like the site level meetings where decisions are made, like school site council, or ELAC, have high quality translation services available. And we currently have several of our parent liaisons who are getting certified, getting certification as translators. So we'll be able to provide a higher quality of translation using our district employees. And then a survey will be distributed in March for us to measure our progress on how we're doing in this particular area. Next slide, please. And in terms of students will thrive socially, emotionally, and academically, there are 4 things that we have been focused on. One is the student wellness and support programs that you heard quite a bit from, about tonight. Our multi-tiered system of support, again, you heard earlier from Director Knox and Dr. Aboud. And then our diversity, equity, and inclusion plan is incorporated into our LCAP. And then also just want to make sure that we have safe, clean, and secure school campuses. And so those are all of the goals that we have for LCAP. And then how we measure this particular one, next slide, please, is we look at the California Healthy Kids Survey. It's given every year and typically in March. And for what we pulled out to measure every year was 2 questions. One is how students feeling connected to the school, because we know that there's a correlation to students feeling connected and them doing better academically. And then also if students have a positive relationship with at least one caring adult, because there's quite a bit of research that shows that if that happens, students are a little more able to be resilient. We don't have recent data yet because as I said, the survey goes out in March. We'll have that hopefully by the end of the year. We also look at attendance rate. The last sort of kind of regular year was 2019-20, and our attendance rate was 96.4. And as of January, right now, it was 92.16. So we know that the impact of students having to quarantine or isolate due to COVID has really impacted our attendance rate. We also look at chronic absentee rate and our expulsion and suspension rate. Both of those things have changed dramatically from last year. Our chronic absentee rate has gone up quite a bit because of, as I mentioned, some of the impacts of COVID. And then our expulsion rate in terms of this point in the year is definitely higher than it was last year, where students were only on campus in small groups, only for short periods of time. So there has been definite increase in our expulsion rate. It says 0. That was the most recent data from the end of last year that we had. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this year, we included in the board documents today on this item is the supplement to the annual update. And this was added so that we can show how we were allocating the funds we were receiving from the American Rescue Plan and all of the federal dollars that we received in since the pandemic started. And just so you know, like, of course, we prioritize the health and safety of students, educators, and other staff as we were thinking about how we wanted to spend and allocate those funds, and then also focused on strategies for continuous and safe in-person learning, and then addressing lost instructional time. So that those funds were spent on those areas in mind. Next, please. So in terms of what we implemented from using those federal dollars, in terms of students and staff safety, we hired additional staff to safely operate schools during hybrid and full-time in-person learning. So we've hired a health service assistants to help with the COVID contact tracing, reporting, communicating with parents. We also purchased, additional personal protective equipment and sanitizing materials, even the purchasing of the hand sanitizers that are in every single classroom and the labor that it took to install those. Those are some of the things that we spent the federal dollars on. We also use those dollars to address unfinished learning and the social emotional needs of our students. Director Knox mentioned about having intervention teachers and increased classified instructional staff. We, increased the hours for our library media tech, so our libraries could be open for longer periods of time, and students have access to more reading materials. We provided tools to identify, track, and support unfinished learning. That's through the different platforms that we have. And then we also contracted services with some of our community partners that Director Knox mentioned to support some of the mental health needs of our students. And then we also sometimes contract out with outside agencies to provide academic support, like we did last summer with bringing in some partners to help us with summer school. And then we also use some of the funds to purchase technology, Chromebooks, iPads, cards, and then some technology enhanced curriculum like Ingenuity that is used in our independent study program and by some of our high schools. So those are all of the different things that we used the federal dollars for, and we will continue to work to over the next year or two, depending on the source of the funds, to provide supports for for students. Next slide, please. And that concludes my report. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Before I ask the board, Mr. Michaels, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. The first speaker is the initial, the letter A. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Amy Martinson. Wasn't planning on speaking, but several times the mental health issues that we're currently seeing among our students have come up. Earlier, several reasons were mentioned, such as climate change, social media, etc. But those issues have been around for a long time. The only new thing is what is being called COVID, but I think that needs to be corrected and instead it should be the COVID response. Okay, it's not COVID that's causing these issues among our young people, it's the COVID response, the masking, the forced masking, the isolation and quarantine, the fear mongering. That's what's causing the anxiety and depression among our youth, and all for a virus that poses no risk to healthy children. So we really need to look at what we're doing. And I know we say all the time that we don't have any control over this. It's a county and state, these are county and state decisions, but that's not true because as leaders, you can use your influence at the county level, at the state level, by passing resolutions, by talking to local and state officials, encouraging them to end these mandates and restore choice to our families and to our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Michaels, do we have any other public comment?
Yes, we do. Next speaker is PK. Go ahead, please. Speaker.
Are you with us?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I just want to echo the sentiments of that previous caller. That was fantastic. She was right on. It's the COVID response. that you should be
Excuse me.
spending your money on.
Ma'am, this is about the Lcap. Can you please have your comments
No,
directed?
this is about your hypocrisy.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Michael, are there any additional speakers?
Yes, next speaker is Sherry Debo. Go ahead, please.
Hello, are you, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I also just want to comment back to the first person who spoke to just say that I completely agree. Mental health is being completely ignored of our kids. I have kids at my home every day from Vintage High School. They do not understand. You guys are practically breaking your own arms, patting yourselves on the back for how you have handled things. And it's just not true. I have kids crying, telling me the stuff that they're going through, and it is being completely ignored at this level. And the political theater of pictures that we see going around social media of you guys at social events while you're still requiring the kids to be back.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful, and I respect the process of public comment, but the process is that it has to address the actual action item at hand or the presentation discussion item at hand, and that is the local control and accountability Lcap. If you could please direct your comments to the Lcap, I would appreciate that.
Okay, that's all right. I'll just call back when you guys move this along.
Thank you very much. Mr. Michaels, do you have any additional public comment?
There's no further public comment.
Thank you. Board, any? Okay, thank you very much, Assistant Superintendent Andrew Jennings. We appreciate the update. And we are going to move to the action item portion of the agenda. We're going to start with general services, K1A, Discussion and approval of resolution number 2219, authorizing continued use of remote teleconferencing provisions pursuant to AB 361 and Government Code Section 54953. May I have a motion?
Yes, I'll move to approve, but I'll request some discussion.
No problem. First by trustee Gracia,
I'll second.
second by trustee Chu. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment for this item.
Thank you, Mr. Michaels. Trustee Gracia?
Yes, in light of the mask mandate ending on February 15th, 2022, I'm not comfortable continuing to provide only online access to our meetings. I would like to see us move to a hybrid model wherein people can either Zoom or appear in person. In this way, we can accommodate the needs of everyone, both those who want to attend in person and those who want to continue to appear via Zoom. In order to facilitate the Zoom access that our constituents have come to expect and to give staff time to figure out how to move to a hybrid format, I am again willing to pass this resolution. I do so hesitantly and with some reservation, as I feel with the mask mandate soon lifted, it is important that we move quickly to offer an in-person option at our meetings. I look forward to hopefully welcoming the public back to our meetings in March of 2022.
Well, I agree. But I do think that we need to keep the remote option because I think it has increased participation, particularly for people who live, depending on the traffic, half an hour to an hour and a half away, and parents who have young children. It's been, many people I know really like the remote option.
No, I think the remote, having the ability to have the hybrid model, to be able to access the American Canyon community, to be able to extend the option to working families. Despite some public opinion, we really are looking forward to having people back in the boardroom. And as we move towards resolution of figuring out technology and how to make it effective and efficient, and so we can accommodate everyone's needs, I too look forward to implementing the technology in March at some time. Dr. Mvusd, do you have any update on that?
Yeah, so staff and I have been preparing for this transition. So we are, we're looking at tentatively, and I'm saying tentative because we'll have technology to work through. If the ask of the board is to continue in the hybrid format, there's a layer of complexity around that. So our aim is to tentatively reopen the boardroom of the second board meeting in March 17th. So we'll continue to do our work, figure out the protocols and procedures around that. So stay tuned for formal announcements in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Dr. Mvusd. Vera, this is a resolution. May I please get a roll call vote?
Yes, Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz,
Aye.
Trustee Gracia,
Aye.
Trustee Water,
Aye.
Trustee Reiser,
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares,
Aye.
Trustee Shu,
Aye.
Trustee Dooley.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. Business Services, K2A 2020-21 Annual District and Measure H Bond Audit Reports. May I get a motion?
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Dooley. Do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not. There is no public comment for this item.
Thank you. Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. K2B Data Sharing Agreement with Butte County Office of Education.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Dooley. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment for this item.
Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. K2C Disposition of District Technology Equipment Surplus.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Dooley. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There is no public comment for this item.
Mr. Michaels, Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Human Resources, K3A, implementation of professional growth stipend memorandum of understanding with CSEA.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Dooley. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment for this item.
Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. K3B is a resolution, Resolution 2220, reduction or discontinuance of particular kinds of services.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Chu. Do we have any public comment on this item?
We do. First speaker is the initial A. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was concerned, I opened this item, I wouldn't even have known that this item was really about the elimination of, I think it was 21 positions. Based on the description of the item description says that it's a reduction in particular kinds of services. It went on to say that this reduction is in the best interest of the welfare of students. And so I was just curious about what kind of service would be so horrible that it would be in the welfare of students to reduce it, because usually we don't associate reduction in services with it being in the welfare of students. So when I opened the document, I was surprised to see it was actually 21 positions, mostly teachers, but there were 2 counselor positions on there. And that's what concerned me the most, because we've been talking all night about the increase in mental health issues among our students. I can see tying the lower enrollment to teacher positions, but as far as counseling positions, it should be based on need. And right now the need is greater than ever. So I'm just very concerned about that. I know Harvest is closing, but I'm assuming those 2 counselors will be going over to the new middle school. And I hope it's not the counselors that were hired with the COVID relief money, because the issues created by the COVID response are still very much live. And I think they will be for some time. You know, while the general counselors are serving their 450 plus students, our additional counselor at Napa High has been mostly dealing with crisis intervention, doing suicide risk assessments, coordinating students going to crisis. And that has just, you know, I've never seen anything like it. And that's mostly what's taking up her time. And again, I don't see any end in sight for that. So again, I hope that the board will ask some questions about those 2 counselor positions, given your new proposed policy on mental health, given all the discussion about mental health, and the fact that we're not seeing an easing of the COVID restrictions for students. We're seeing them for adults, but not for students. And so we're going to continue to deal with those issues for some time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Michaels, do we have any other comments?
There's no more public comment for this item.
Thank you very much. Can I get it first? Okay, so Vera, this is a resolution. May I please have a roll call vote?
Yes, Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz,
Aye.
Trustee Gracia,
Aye.
Trustee Water,
Aye.
Trustee Reiser,
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares,
Aye.
Trustee Shu,
Aye.
Trustee Dooley.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. K3C, NAS Career Site Content and Activate Agreement.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Dooley. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment for this item.
Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Suspension of Board Policy 4119.44, COVID-19 vaccination requirement for district employees and other individuals who perform in-person work for the district.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
I'll second.
second by trustee Chu. Trustee Water, did we receive any public comment via email on this agenda item?
Yes, I did. The following public comment was received before 8 a.m. this morning. The written format has been forwarded and reviewed by the NVUSD Board of Education Trustees. It was from Lori Yoder, titled Agenda Item K3D, Suspension of Board Policy 4119.44, COVID-19 vaccination requirement for district employees and other individuals who perform in-person work for the district, dated February 10th, 2022.
Thank you, Trustee Water. Mr. Michaels, do we have any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment for this item.
Thank you. Okay, we had a first by Trustee Gracia. We had a second by Trustee Chu. We went through public comments. Didn't Board Member Bit?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Instructional services. K4A, School Plan for Student Achievement, Addendum Canyon Oaks.
Move to approve.
First by Trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by Trustee Chu. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, we do have public comment. Sherry DeBow, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Sherry?
Hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I had my hand raised for the issue of COVID and the suspension. So I'm speaking to that issue. So you guys skipped it so quickly and I did not get called on, but I had my hand up for that.
No problem. We will take your 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think it's great that you are in favor of stalling things, but I also think it's a little ridiculous that it's a stall. It should be ended. There is no science behind. You guys are completely ignoring natural immunity. It is absolutely unreasonable and against people's civil rights. You have the Nuremberg Code against you on the fact that they're trying to create a situation where teachers are having to choose between going on and facilitating the students or having a career or their own bodily autonomy. I mean, it's completely ridiculous that this hasn't already ended. The fact that the public meetings have not been back in session when the kids have been every day with themselves. Okay, they're there in school, in the classes, in masks, but then they go into the cafeteria and in the classroom, there's 30 of them, but they go into the cafeteria and there's 100 to 300 of them in no masks. It is absolutely ridiculous the way this has been handled and that the teachers have had to suffer over it and so have the students. It is total insanity that you're even considering forced vaccinations for kids. I cannot believe that this is where we are and it continues to go on and on and on. Why you're kicking this can down the road is total insanity. Okay, you do not have the science behind you. And the fact that you are educators and you can't do 10 minutes of research to see that people should have the choice. There should be choice when there is risk, and people should choose their own risks for their own lives. This is insane. And you are forcing teachers who have had lifetime careers in these industries to choose to quit, to choose another field to go into after years of education and the money that they have spent. It's total insanity. And the example that they're having to set to the kids, half of my kids' teachers enforce the mask. The other half of them say it's absolutely ridiculous. Why you're not standing behind people's civil rights as educators is really pathetic. I can't believe this is where we are in California, a state that was once free.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Michaels, are there any additional comments?
Yes, there are. Cassie, go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
I had my hand raised for the last item and it wasn't called upon. I would like to say that my job has been dangled over my head throughout this whole time. Now we're just suspending it, and then I have to wait till later to find out if I don't vaccinate, do vaccinate, won't vaccinate, can't vaccinate. I personally don't want that stuff in my body. I already told everyone this in December. I had a very, very horrible virus. 3 months later, COVID comes out. To this day, my doctor has, I have the email, I have COVID antibodies. Why are we not, instead of suspending it, eliminate it? You dangle it over the kids. I've seen kids at Napa High tell me they went and got the vaccine just so they could play sports, but they didn't want it. We don't know what's in that vaccine. If you chose to put it in your body, I'm sorry, but I choose not to. But why should my job be dangled over my head? In the last meeting, I heard Miss Waters say that a teacher had said something to the effect of not one Napa High kid has died. That's wonderful. What, have anybody ever looked into the vaccine related deaths, heart issues, swollen hearts? All sorts of issues come up because of the vaccine, but we won't talk about that. When the heck did we decide to give up choice? We're teaching kids to live by mandates. The last time I checked, we voted on things in this country. If we could actually count on our vote. You know, I see your mask slip up and down off your face. I see kids terrified when you walk by them, hurrying up to pull up their mask. I'm like, hey, you're outside, you're okay. Don't worry about it, don't stress. This is what I see daily. I'm the one taking kids to the nurse when they're hacking up their legs, and we want to talk about their mental health issues. Maybe it's some of the COVID response. We have kids that are being abused. Maybe it's being kept at home too much. Sometimes school is the safest place for them. But now is it? Oh, keep your mask up. Getting in trouble in class because their mask slipped down. Yet, y'all know everybody goes in public without it. I have to this day never worn a mask in a store. And I'm still alive. Go figure. How about we get rid of this, cram the vaccine down people's throat? Now I've got to wait. Well, when are they going to approve it? When are they going to deny it? How about the mental health of some of the staff? I want to do my job and I do it well, and I want to do it without dangling this over my head. Oh, we might vaccinate. Oh, no, you don't have to. Oh, maybe you should. Other counties are ending things that are in California. If we followed the money, we would go right back to the real answer. The answer isn't the care for people. Does the vaccine work? Because we know it doesn't. The vaccinated are getting this flu-like symptom stuff. Let's stop this. I ask you to stop this.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Michaels, do we have any additional public comment?
We do. Next speaker is PK. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I am very curious as to why you guys are kicking this down the road. I mean, why are you going to suspend it? So last month you were all gangbusters. You were going to enforce it. Why? Why are you going to suspend it now? It's not science. I mean, wait, it's not medical science. It's political science is what it is right now. And it's so obvious. Now, I heard it was because maybe someone in your HR department got really, really sick and then had to go to the hospital, and she was vaxxed or jabbed, and then she passed. And I really hope that's not true, but I'm very, very sad if that did happen, and I'm sorry. But I just wonder if that had anything to do with this. So I wonder if you're going to address that at all, why you were going to do it. You were going to force all your employees by March, and then within a month, you switched. It's just, it's unbelievable that you're even going down this way. This is going to be on your head, all for the money. And you've said it before, you're not going to go against King Newsom because of the money. You'd never make it. You guys got so much money, COVID money anyways. It's appalling. You should all be ashamed of yourself. Good night.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Michaels, do we have any additional public comment?
We do. Next speaker is Valerie Wolf. Go ahead, please.
Ms.
Unmute.
Wolf?
There we go. I had to unmute myself.
No problem.
Good evening, Valerie Wolf. I'm going to speak about reality. C19 injections do not stop transmission and do not stop infection. Therefore, herd immunity is impossible to achieve through the jab. Mass vaccinations have no epidemiological justification, and therefore the societal goal of vaccinating everybody to protect others is null, period. Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Switzerland, Finland have ended all COVID mandates and restrictions. It's taking grassroots Canadian truckers demanding the dropping of all mandates and facilitating taking their country back. The only mask capable of stopping viral spread is a custom-fitted respirator, period. The masks being used to create compliance are as good as trying to use a chain link fence to keep mosquitoes out. We are on the way out of this cult-like mass psychosis. Please stop perpetuating measures that have no validity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Michaels, do we have any more public comment?
Yes, we do. Amy Martinson, I believe. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm glad that the staff has recommended that you slow things down. I do concur with the other speakers, though, that it would be nice if the board would be proactive and pass a resolution, as other school boards have done, against the vaccine mandate. I want to address a couple comments from last time. One, trustee disparaged research on the internet, which shocked me, because in the 21st century, that's how most people do research, and that's how our students are doing research. And many of us, yeah, sometimes we watch YouTube videos, but sometimes those YouTube videos are a 5-hour congressional hearing with scientists and doctors who are questioning the narrative and questioning the way this COVID response has rolled out. So just because something's on YouTube doesn't mean it's not legitimate. I also want to address comments that have been made the last couple of meetings about the number of COVID deaths. And, you know, I think the last meeting somebody cited the 800,000 COVID deaths. It's been documented that these COVID deaths have been highly miscalculated. A majority of these COVID deaths are actually people who died with COVID, not from COVID. And COVID was not the primary cause of death. There are cases of people coming in with having had a car accident with fatal injuries, but they happen to test positive for COVID, and it's called a COVID death. Hospitals are incentivized to call these deaths COVID deaths because they actually get more money if the person was diagnosed with COVID. The other issue is the PCR tests. All of these cases, hospitalizations and deaths, are based on inaccurate PCR tests for two reasons. One, the PCR test cannot tell the difference between live and dead virus. The other reason is that they are running these PCR tests at high cycles. So when the RNA is collected from your nose or your mouth, it has to be amplified. And it's been amplified at high rates, so high that even Fauci said that after 35 cycles, that the chances of getting an accurate test are, quote, minuscule. And yet the FDA and the CDC recommend that these tests be run at 40 cycles. There was a study September 28th, 2020 by the Clinical Infectious Diseases. It was published in Clinical Infectious Diseases that says that after 35 cycles, there's a 97% false positivity rate. So all of these numbers are inflated, and they've been inflated, I think, for a variety of reasons that I don't have time to go into, mainly to justify the pushing of the vaccine. And then lastly, most of these COVID deaths that were true COVID deaths could have been prevented with effective and safe early treatments that have been neglected, ignored, and suppressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Yes, next speaker is Aisley Wallace Harper. Go ahead, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to add in and say that I do agree with people that there's been a bit of a flip-flop back and forth from the board. And so I think that you need to enforce a vaccine mandate. A lot of colleges have been doing it all over the United States. It's not a new idea, and it would honestly benefit the community a lot more. The argument that just because no one at Napa High School has died does not hold up when you look at, numbers from across the country, across the world, where children are dying. And it's extremely unfortunate and also very upsetting that, these people who claim to be parents would prefer dead kids over alive kids with a mask on. I also just wanted to advise caution that these people who are speaking to you tonight are the ones that are posting your names all over social media pages and saying some pretty disgusting things. So if you're opening the boardroom, I just would say be cautious about it and make sure that you have some protection, because you're inviting in a large crowd of very unvaccinated and unruly people. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Mike, do you have any additional public comment?
Yes, next speaker is David Botten. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Good evening.
Every year, I guess it's every year now. And prior to that, every year I introduce, we read a certain novel in my English class. Myself and also my mentor teacher, when he would teach this novel, we would introduce our students to what was called the Milgram experiment in the early 60s. The psychologists at the Ivy League school and Stanley Milgram, who headed that up, they were actually shocked by the results. They wanted to study how people can commit evil things. How does it happen? They were studying what happened in Nazi Germany mainly. How did it happen? How did a whole populace succumb to that? And they designed an experiment to test that. They were shocked. What they found was they expected, I think it was 10 to 15% of people would do whatever evil an official, an authority in a white coat would tell them to do. Well, it turned out like 70% would do. And it involved the punishment, the cruel thing in that experiment involved electric shocks. And there was one of the founding fathers. There was one of the founding framers of the Constitution. He was a doctor. His name was Benjamin Rush. He tried to talk and he might have been the first Surgeon General. Don't quote me on that. But he tried to talk the other framers of the Constitution into putting in some kind of warning so that the medical industry would not become a dictatorship. Look it up, Benjamin Rush. His warning was not heeded. I want to fast forward now. There is a woman named Vera Sharav. She is a Holocaust survivor and a human rights advocate. I want to read to you a quote from her, a recent quote. She said, "Government should not be interfering in our personal lives, in our medical choices. What is that? Where did it come from? It started with the Nazis." And then she goes on. She says, "I never thought that I would be alive to be again afraid of the same elements." And then she said, "This time around, it's worse." That's Vera Sharav, human rights advocate, Holocaust survivor, comparing this COVID medical tyranny to what she saw in 1930s Germany. Thank you.
Your comment, Mr. Michaels, do we have any additional public comment?
We do. Last speaker is M.A. or Ma. Go ahead, please.
Hello, thank you, board. I am an elementary school teacher. I have been teaching in this district for 6 years, 15 years total, in different parts of the country. I have been teaching during this pandemic. I did the Zoom, and then I was a teacher who volunteered to teach the students in person last year when no one else would. I am vaccinated. I have been teaching in person now since last January, and I love it. I am happy to be back with my students. And I am saddened that I could lose my job simply because of a third shot that there is not much science behind. I am vaccinated. I am teaching the students. I am following everything that anyone has ever asked me to do. And now you're going to choose to have a mandate for a third shot. We need choice. I made a choice to teach students when no one else would during this crazy time. And now you're taking away my choice. Thank you.
To the last speaker, just to be clear, this is a suspension of the policy.
Just for clarification purposes. All right, we will now be moving on to K4B, Northwood Elementary School operating as a title.
Did we vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. We have to go back because we opened up public comment again. We did vote, but now we'll go back and we will read. We did, but we will go back. Now we open public comment and we will go back to K3D, suspension of board policy 4119.44, COVID-19 vaccination requirement. We did vote. I mean, we opened it up for public comment again. Do you want to?
But did we vote on K4A?
Oh, okay. Okay.
We have to vote.
K4A, sorry, I got ahead of myself there. I started. K4A, School Plan for Student Achievement, Addendum, Canyon Oaks. May I get a motion?
Yes, I'll move to approve.
Second.
First by trustee Gracia, second by trustee Chu. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment for this item.
Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Northwood Elementary School operating as a Title I school-wide program.
Move to approve.
First by
Second.
trustee Gracia, second by trustee Water. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment for this item.
Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Napa Valley Adult Education Course of Study, Adoption for Digital Literacy.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Dooley. Do we have any public comment?
There's no public comment for this item.
Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
K4D, UCLA Crest Contract. May I get a motion?
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Chu. Do we have any public comment, Mr. Michaels?
There is no public comment for this item.
Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. K4E, 2020-21 School Accountability Report Cards published in 2021-22.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Chu. Do we have any public comment?
There is no public comment for this item.
Thank you. Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. K4F, Lead to Literacy Grant.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Chu. Do we have any public comment?
There is no public comment for this item.
Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We move on to operational services. K5A, which is a resolution 2221, Transportation Department participation in the lower emission school bus program.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Chu. Vera, oh, do we have any public comment?
There is no public comment for this item.
Thank you, Mr. Michaels. Vera, may we please have a roll call vote?
Yes, Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz,
Aye.
Trustee Gracia,
Aye.
Trustee Water,
Aye.
Trustee Reiser,
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares,
Aye.
Trustee Shu,
Aye.
Trustee Dooley.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. K5B, Request for Transportation Department Disposition of Assets.
To approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Dooley. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There is no public comment for this item.
Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. K6A, SPC number, sorry, my contacts, 15.59-17, request for contract with J. Leniger for IOR services for the finishing kitchens Phase 4 project.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Dooley. Do we have any public comment, Mr. Michaels?
There is no public comment for this item.
Thank you. Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. K6B, SPC number 1918-20, request for SWPPP services for American Canyon Middle School Student Commons soil off haul to Napa Junction Elementary site. May I
Move
get
to approve.
first by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Chu. Do we have any public comment?
There is no public comment for this item.
Thank you. Student Board Rep Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. K6C, SPC number 1.4-22, request for updated implementation plan.
Move to approve.
First by trustee Gracia,
Second.
second by trustee Dooley. Do we have any public comment, Mr. Michaels?
There is no public comment for this item.
Thank you, sir. Student Board Member Bit,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. We've moved on to informational section. These items do not require board action. We'll start with general services and ask for was there a report for the curriculum and student support committee?
No report this.
Okay, facilities and technology committee. Who is going to report out?
There's no reporting out. There's meeting.
Oh,
minutes.
that's right. There's meeting minutes. I
We're
apologize.
relying on
Correct.
them.
That's right.
Yeah,
Thank you very
so-
much
Yep.
for the reminder. L2 Business Services Enrollment Report as stated. L3 Human Resources. L3A Quarter Report on Williams Uniform Complaints for January 2022, which there were none. L4 Chronic Absenteeism Report for months 5 and 6. M, any additional suggestions and comments from board members or the superintendent? Thank you. Future agenda items. And lastly, we move to adjourn. May I get a motion, please?
So moved.
First by trustee Gracia,
I'll second.
second by trustee Chu. I know we don't have any public comment. Student board rep,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Good evening. I do want to take a moment and thank their board for their very efficient and effective governance this evening. Thank you all.